rolling, so...
Okay, we're here at the original Alternative Wrestling Shop offices with the CZW champion and NWA Florida King of the Deathmatch. Start over.
Just tone it down a bit. We can hear you really well. So
Okay.
Don't have to yell.
Okay, we're here at the Alternative Wrestling Shop offices with the CZW champion and also NWA Florida King of the Deathmatch. God, I can't get that out. This says my fucking mouth is all dry. Alright, but it's rolling, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, we're here at the original Alternative Wrestling Shop offices with the CZW champion and NWA Florida King of the Deathmatch champion, the Messiah. And we want to have an interview here with the Messiah to get all the scoop on his career and his life in the wrestling business. So first off, were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think in order to be in this business, you have to be a fan. You can't be a Goldberg and just fall ass backwards into the business like he did. It's like growing up watching it. That's what I loved watching. That's what I loved doing. And my favorites were Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels. I was, of course, when I was a kid, a big Hogan fan and all that stuff. So yeah, definitely growing up. I mean, that's I wasn't into baseball or football or anything. It was always about wrestling. Okay.
How did you get started in the wrestling business?
Pretty much right out of high school when I was 18, I went to wrestling school. It's actually a funny story. It's just there used to be I think out here was the Wrestling Cable Network or something like that, and Dynamite D, he hosted it. And every Friday night, when I was like, I think I had to have been like maybe 15 or, no, I wasn't even that, maybe 16 or, 15 or 16. And I would listen to it, and D's on there and everything, and he's talking, and he kept on plugging this place called Slammers Wrestling Federations or Slammers Wrestling Gym. And made a deal with my dad. I asked my dad if I could go see it, and he pretty much said, okay, well, if you do well on your report card, I'll take you there. And I said, okay. And sure enough, I did well, and he took me there. And as soon as I walked in there, I was in love. They had like pictures of wrestlers all over the walls and everything, wrestling magazines all over the table, and it was the best thing ever. And I don't think the guy who ran it, Vern Langdon, he wasn't there at the time, but this guy named Movie Star Mike was there.
Is that who trained you?
No, the guy who trained me was actually Hombre de Oro or Carlito Montana in XPW.
Oh, okay.
But I showed up there with my dad and this guy Movie Star Mike and I believe it was Jeff Lindbergh, like a really even skinnier, just like 16-year-old. I mean, Jeff was like the main guy in SWF, and it's like when I was there, that's when he first started. When I got to see him, and they put on a little match for me and my dad, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. But of course, the catch was you had to be 18 in order to train there. And sure enough, when I turned 18, I went to wrestling school. In fact, it was right around the time where the WWF or the WWE was pushing Ultimate Warriors Wrestling School. And that's the first time I ever heard about a wrestling school besides Slammers. And I actually sent like a letter and everything, and they sent me something. I think it was like $7 or something like that for an info packet. And he sent it back, and just pretty much they said that what was it? That it would cost $300 to go to a no BS seminar by the Ultimate Warrior, and basically you didn't get the $300 back, but you got to go fly your ass out to Arizona to just hear the Ultimate Warrior speak on shit and pay him $300 to do it. But that wasn't guaranteeing that you were going to be in the school or anything like that. And I told my dad. My dad actually was one of the few times that he's like, if you want to go. And he's like, I'll pay for it and everything. I'm like, no, I don't want to go out there for $300. No, it's not worth it. And then he brought up, what about Slammers? And that's when I got in contact with Vern, and that's pretty much where it all happened from there.
Well, looking back now, as far as the work of the Ultimate Warrior, aren't you glad you didn't go?
Oh, definitely. My dad, it was funny because my dad, he traveled a lot. He always went to Arizona, and he would go and check out the school. He's like, let me just go down there and see what it is. He's like, I'm familiar with where this is. He'd go down there and he'd call and go, there's no one in this place. There's no one here. He's like, I saw a lady walking around, but that was it. There's no one here whatsoever.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on the first original guys that helped you train?
Awesome. I mean, I was the way I was taught at Slammers was they didn't let me in that the business was a work. They did not let me in. In fact, when I originally got in contact with Vern Langdon, he said, "Hey, we're doing shows in Bakersfield every Thursday night, Strong Bus Stadium. Why don't you come down, check it out to see what you're gonna get yourself into?" And I said, "Okay." And then I told my dad and I went down to Bakersfield, and we watched it. And that show, the champ at the time, El Toro. No, it wasn't the champ at the time, but this one of the wrestlers named El Toro Bravo was wrestling Vern, and Vern just cold cocked him like, boom, and fucking knocked out like his tooth right there in front of me. And my dad just looked at me with like, "You sure this is what you want to do?" And I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. I was like, "This is fucking awesome." And I met up with Vern after, and he's like, "Okay, what do you think?" And it was awesome. I definitely want to be part of this. And he said, "Well, here, come down to the school on Sunday, and we'll see what you made of." I'm like, "All right," and that was pretty much it. I mean, Vern didn't really have that much in doing as far as training me goes. He's the guy that kind of felt you out, But
so was he the owner?
Yeah, he was the owner. But I remember that first training session, like we locked up and I grappled with him for like 2 hours, and then at the end of it, it was like he goes, "Okay, right now I'm going to teach you how to chop." I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "All right, this is how you do it." And he just hauled out, and he had these big meat hands. These things were fucking huge, and he just went off and chopped me. And I thought I had like bronchitis or something like that, because it just my lungs, I couldn't even breathe. And he's like, "Chop me back," and then we just went back and forth, and I did not once let up. And then after it, he goes, "Okay, you can be part of this if you want." And basically their whole thing was, we don't want any pussies. We really don't. And his whole thing also, and he was very upfront with me when he said that, because at the time it was $25 a week. None of this $2,000 down crap. Because if that had happened to me, there's no way I ever would have went to wrestling school. There's no way. $25 a week for me back then was just like, oh, jeez, God, And he pretty much said, he's like, just to let you know, this isn't something that you're going to learn like in 3 months. He's like, we have a 2-year course here, and we're not here to take your money because all of us have separate jobs as it is. We do this because we love to do it. And I did, I grappled with Vern, and then went into the class, and the main instructor there was Hombre de Oro, or Carlito Montana, and pretty much he just beat the crap out of you. Because he was all about being stiff and, kicking for real and all that stuff. And before I was actually taught wrestling moves, I was made to grapple. So I had to grapple and everything, so I got my mind working. It's just one of those things like, as far as collegiate wrestling goes, I think it's the greatest sport in the world, because not only are you thinking fast on your toes, but it's really physical, and you got to go at it, And they taught me how to, basically after that I did the courses and everything. Dynamite D didn't, even though he was like the main instructor there at the time, that's when he was going out the door.
Oh, okay.
And so it was pretty much Carlos and a guy named Ed Farah.
Now when Slammers put out all their line at home videos, and they put out the best of like collegiate wrestling or how to. Was that you on the tape, or
no?
That was another Mike.
That's where my gimmick came from.
Okay.
That's where who's that? That was me and Carlos called him a little bitch all the time, because there's one tape or something where they're doing collegiate wrestling, and the guy gets him in a move, and you just hear this, and he's like, "That's your brother, dude." And I'm like, "No, it's not." But basically, that's where my gimmick came from, because that guy's name was Mark Earhart, and then my gimmick, I was wrestling one day, and then D was there, and then Vern goes and looks at D, and he goes, Mike Earhart. And D looks at me and looks at Vern and goes, yeah. And my gimmick was I was his little brother, even though I never met the guy once ever. But that's where I got the name from.
All right. Let's see. Well, we covered a couple questions there on that. So let's see.
What best described your gimmick?
I was the all-American boy. Vern always said I'd never be a heel. There's no way I could ever be a heel, because I had too much of a baby face. He's like, "You can't be a heel. You can't." And sure enough, I go out there and look all fucking, shit grin and all that stuff, and that basically it was no gimmick. It was just me going out there, And the one thing that in Slammers it was all about, it was supposed to be old school. Like, we weren't allowed in the ring with tennis shoes. You're only allowed either barefoot or wrestling boots. Not even the Asics. You weren't even allowed to wear that. And you had to wear tights. You couldn't wear Adidas pants or anything like that. And that's what you wore. You wore the tights and everything, and
all traditional.
Yeah, it was all traditional. In fact, you had to stick to your times of what you were given as far as what you wrestled and everything. You couldn't do too many things too flashy. you know, or else you get an ass chewing.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was definitely, you know, you know, the whole wearing the tights thing. It was a case of, you know, I hated wearing tights. I hated it. It's horrible, and but you know, it's a case of, you know, it's one of these things where you get over your fear of looking that way, and you just go out there and let your work speak for itself, rather than, you know, going out there with this gnarly entrance and all this stuff, because that's what gets you over.
Yeah.
You know, you just went out there and it was your work that friggin' got you over.
So at this time when you were training, what were some of the other indie stars you were training with?
At the time when I first started there was Pete Malloy, aka White Trash Johnny Webb. He was there. Trying to think. Homeless Jimmy. He was there. He was Jimmy James. And he had like short hair and everything. It was the funniest thing. He did a completely 180 on with the gimmicks. And then who else? You know, I mean, locally out here, you know, California, there was like, you know, Mace. You know, Dave. He was there. Tyrone Tiny Little wrestles. That's what he wrestled as in Slammers. But in XPW, he wrestled as Sybil. I think right now he wrestles as Uncle Jess Hansen or Uncle Jess. Big Bear or Big Bear Calhoun, just a big, powerful guy who does more stuff up north. You know, who else? I'm trying to think.
Damien Steele?
I wasn't there when Damien Steele was there.
Oh, okay.
He came in after?
No, he was there before me.
Oh. Okay.
Like, I think he was there as Buddy West, Buddy West or something like that. Or,
and then he became Nick Beat.
Yeah, Nick Beat, and then Damien, the real deal Damien Steele. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he wasn't there. A lot of people think I trained with Chaos and Supreme, and I didn't train with them at all. You know, I didn't meet them until I started doing indies. But as far as I think like Webb and Jimmy were pretty much like Felony, who was a ref for XPW. He wrestled there as El Spirito, and I forgot the other gimmick he did. But that was actually my first wrestling match ever. Was against Felony as El Spirito. He was under a mask and everything. And that's pretty much. I mean, Ed Ferraro was there. He helped train me a lot. You know, he did things. You know.
What's your feelings on Ed Ferraro?
I love Ed. I think he's the greatest thing in the world. I mean, it was weird because this is one of the great things about the wrestling business is the fact that you could have a room full of guys that look like they would never in a million years hang out with each other. You could have a black guy over here, you could have a white guy, a fat guy, a skinny guy, a guy all pierced up, a guy who goes to church over here, but the one common thing you have is that they all love wrestling, and that's what makes you friends. And that's when you looked at all of us, you're just like, what the fuck are you hanging out with this guy for?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Ed at the time had long bleach blonde hair because he was doing a gimmick called Beautiful Bruce Bodine. And he came out like in pink tights and all this stuff. It was the greatest thing in the world because, dude, he'd get that crowd. You know, regardless if there was 5 people or 50, he was just like, oh fuck you. I mean, he got.
So he was a total heel.
Oh, he was the biggest heel I ever saw. Like I said before, like I mentioned before, they didn't wise me up on gimmicks or that it was a work. And I remember Ed actually at the time he had to leave because he actually accepted a job because he was a writer, and he actually got a great job writing. I forgot what it was for, but you couldn't wrestle anymore, and so they came up with an angle. And him and Hombre or Carlos had the biggest feud going on in SWF. So they basically did a loser leaves Bakersfield, loser leaves Slammers match, and Carlos won, and so Beautiful Bruce was gone, and I go to the shows, but I never went back. Excuse me, I never went backstage. You know, while I was training, and or while they weren't letting me, they were wising me up on everything, and I went to class like the next Sunday, and they're talking about stuff, and in the match, Bruce went through a table, and you know, Ed said something to or Vern said something to D. He goes, yeah, Ed offered to pay for the table. And they're just like, oh, that's good. And we're leaving. I'm like, so what is Ed going to do? And Vern's like, who gives a shit what he does? He's a cocksucker. I'm like, what? He's like, dude, I'm glad he's out of here. He was totally working me. Wow. And then finally they let me in. Like, Carlos sat me down. He goes, okay, I'm going to let you in on something. I'm like, what? It's a work. No, it's not. You really hit me. Yeah, I know I really hit you, but it's a work. I'm like, okay. And that's how I got. They wised me up with that. And, you know, Vern or Ed ended up coming back, and you know, he was the guy, like Carlos and him were so much older than me. I mean, I was barely 20 or 19, and they took me under their wing and just showed me everything. There was many a night where I'd go there with Carlos at night, and we just beat the crap out of each other. I remember we did one whole, me, Carlos, and El Toro Bravo, we did one whole class. It was just us 3 on suplexes. And we were just suplexing each other back and forth, boom, 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 all variations of everything that you can think of. And after that, all three of us were just on the mat, just lying there. I've never been so sore in my life. But it was a great experience that I'll never forget. I mean, those were the guys who toughened me up, and you know, if they had taken it easy on me and been like, you know, this is how you really throw a punch. You don't really hit the. It's like, you know, they fucking, you know, they saw something in me and they took me under their wing and you know, basically it was tough love. They just beat the crap out of me and said, this is how you do it right. And you know, that's, you know, if it wasn't for them, I definitely wouldn't be here.
Yeah, personally, I think that's the way to go too, because a lot of these guys getting in the business lately, they just don't pay their dues at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, I mean, there was no tough enough back when I started. So I mean, I had to take down the ring and all that stuff, and you know, basically I had to be bitch boy during class, where everybody's like, the new students would come in, and it's like, all right, Billy, okay, give him a suplex. Okay, boom. All right, now do it to him. So you know, you get 8 guys, and they're all giving me suplexes. Oh, I fucked up. You know, they land me, I drop them on my head or something like that, and it just, I was the guy that was, you know, the dummy that I get thrown around all the time. You know, but that's, you know, that's I personally believe it's better to learn stiff and get get stiff and everything, and then you can learn to be light if you need to be, rather than being taught light and then trying to be stiff.
Yeah, then you got a locker room full of pussies that bitch and moan and complain about everything.
Yeah, I mean, eventually what happened at Slammers was a lot of the guys there, you either, there's 2 ways you left Slammers. Either you just quit because it was too stiff. The majority of guys that I was around when it happened, they quit. It was just too stiff. They just couldn't handle it. Or they were asked to leave. There was, I think D, and it wasn't fair to D. D was kind of like asked to leave, and D was the guy who pretty much like helped. You know, he was like the main guy there, and he was asked to leave by Vern, which I, you know, in retrospect, you know, it sucked. He shouldn't have done that.
Do you know any reasons for that?
I really don't. It was just a case of like D had stuff going on, man, and D admitted to you back then he was a dick. You know, he had a chip on his shoulder and everything. You know, he thought his shit don't stink. I mean, the first time I ever met Dynamite D, Vern's like, hey, this is you know, Billy D. D goes, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going, Billy? D, world's greatest wrestler. That's how he introduced himself to me. You know, back then he thought his shit don't stink, and he, you know, he'll tell you that he was a dick. He was just the biggest dick. He thought he was gonna, you know, he was gonna be the best thing ever. You know, and he changed a lot. I mean, he's one of the nicest guys in the world. But you know, he was asked to leave the other. What was it? There was this one guy. I can't remember his name, but pretty much we were doing. He started there before I did, and we were doing something as simple as bear hugs. We're just like bear hug, you know, get under his chest and everything. You know, in order to get out of it, you know, clap your ears like this, you know, around his head.
Yeah.
The guy really fucking clapped Bear's ears. He went whack, and it's just like, oh, I'm sorry. And Vern's like, all right, okay, yeah, fine. And then we're going in, we're doing stuff. Try to do something as simple as a suplex, and he fucks it up. And Vern's like, okay, you've been taught this. Why? What's going on? Something's not clicking in your brain. I don't know. Vern's like, you know something? If you don't got it now, you're never gonna get it. So you know something? Get your shit, get out of here. You know, and that was it. He was just asked to leave. You know, so it was, you know, it was definitely. You definitely didn't go in there expecting just to, you know, glitz and glamour but if you did, you know, you get a fucking hard lesson.
Get the wake up call.
Pretty much.
Now, getting back to Ed, what do you think of his work with the WWF, WCW, and now NWA TNA?
It's weird. When he left Slammers, Carlos was the one who told me that he left Slammers, and then that he got the call from or that he had, you know, he had a meeting with Vince, and Vince said, hey, you know, you want to write for me? Yeah, that was great that he took it. I mean, I was like, dude, that sucks. He's leaving. But at the same time, in the back of your head, you're like, oh, mate, I got an end now. I got an end to the WWE. You know?
Got a connection.
I got a connection now, and you know, I never really like saw anything that I don't know what he did. I don't know what he did in WWF or anything like that. And you know, I thought he was a great writer. And then he went to WCW, and when he did the Oklahoma stuff, you know, I'm like, dude, that sucks. But I thought it was the funny stuff in the world because the guy can do like impersonations of everybody. And then you know, when he left that, he and I talked or spoke because when he left WCW, it's right when XPW started to do their first show at the it was Scene of the Crime where me and Sabu wrestled in the cage, and they were supposed to have like Shane and Conan on the show, I think. And then, I mean, legitimately, like, WCW pulled the thing, or the lawyer said, you can't wrestle anywhere. You can't. So what if WCW's not around anymore? You guys can't wrestle. You're still under contract to us. So, you know, they got pulled off the show, and you know, Ed got a hold of Kevin, or Kevin got a hold of Ed, and they were just talking bullshit, and then I started talking to Ed, and, you know, they were bringing Ed because Ed legitimately worked for WCW and could have been like, yeah, sorry, WCW pulled the plug on this and everything. It just never happened.
No.
And when he left, when the whole thing happened with WWF, I said, or WCW, I'm like, are you going to go back to WWF? He's like, no way, not in a million years. He's like, it was the worst. Yeah, I hated it there. He's like, if they want me back, it's only to fuck with me. That's the only reason that they would want me back right now is to fuck with me. I'm not going to do it. And then when we did NWA TNA, he actually asked me to send out a promo tape, and I did. And he quit like after the first month there, and for whatever reasons I don't know, but he just quit, and now he's just developing more like, pilots and all that stuff from what I've been told. So.
Okay, getting back to the whole Slammer situation, what were your feelings on the DWO shoot?
DWO shoot. First of all, it's right when NWO happened, so get something fucking original. DWO. I was just like...
Yeah, what company didn't have
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, DWO, get the hell out of here. And then, it's funny when I look back at it now. When I was legitimately pissed off, because Slammers was like my home. That's where you don't fuck with that shit. Like I said, a lot of guys left, and the majority of those guys left on very bad terms. And we did a show, and I remember going out there going, wow, there's a lot more people here than we usually have. And it turned out it was because it was all the freaking ex-workers that were part of like Slammers that left. And
they were just there to watch the show? Or?
Yeah, something happened during an intermission, and all of a sudden I hear this, they're going in the ring. I'm like, what? D gets in the ring, gets in the mic, says something, I don't know what the hell he's saying, and then all these guys get in the ring, and then lo and behold, they all take off their shirts and they're wearing DWO shirts. Another original idea. And and I remember Vern's like, no, don't do anything, because we were in the locker room, like, you want us to go out? He's like, no, just let them have the little thing, let them do what they want to do.
So Vern didn't know about this happening?
I think he had an inkling, because I remember, like, Carlos called me up the night before and said, yeah, I think I'm going to try something. I'm like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And, they did, and, Bear wanted to go out there and just clean house. And, he's just like, and Carlos was like, no, just let them have their fun. Let them do what they want to do and everything. And
what did it stem from?
The DWO?
Yeah, that whole...
Just a lot of bitter freaking guys. That was my take on it. Just a lot of bitter guys who were asked to leave, or they quit, and the majority of those guys quit because they couldn't take it. They just couldn't take it anymore. And realistically, I was still new to Slammers, so, but maybe they just thought it wasn't going anywhere. I don't know. But the next day, I get a call from Vern, and he's just like, there's not going to be any class today. I'm like, okay. He's like, just take it easy and God bless. And I'm like, oh crap, here we go. And Vern just closed down Slammers.
Just like that.
Just like that, he closed it down, and then I just remembered like D and all them were, because the actual training center was in D's name, so D owned it. It was in the lease was in his name, so it was his building. It wasn't Slammers, it wasn't Vern's. And so, but he still invited me and Carlos to come down and train and everything. We went down there, and there was this guy named who wrestled as the Gargoyle in Slammers. His real name was Artie. He was a little shit.
Tell us how you really feel.
What was great was like, because he lived like, Midwest or something like that, in the Midwest, and he did shows in every now and then or whatever. He's considered big time, I guess. I don't know. And so he came. He was there, and I remember Carlos would only wrestle me in front of those guys, and that pissed off White Trash Johnny Webb. He's like, why is Carlos only wrestling Billy? And then he and I we'd go in there, and then I remember Carlos didn't go one time, and then D and all these guys were there, and they let me give you an idea. There was like this poster board, and this was after like Vern closed down Slammers, and they were going to call, I think D was going to call everything Southern California Championship Wrestling. I think that's what it was going to be called. And there was this poster board, and basically it said wrestling name, finisher, music. I'm like, get the fuck out. Because in Slammers, it wasn't about the music, it wasn't about your finishers or anything like that. Yeah. It was like, dude, you go out there and you do your talking with wrestling. And I just remember looking, and there's like a guy calling himself like Machine Gun Kelly or something like that. The finisher, the drive-by. I'm just like, and these are guys who are students. And it's just like Slammers' whole thing was never let a guy pick out their gimmick, or else they're gonna call themselves friggin' super velocity destroyer number 3. You know, they just come up with stupid gimmicks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why you don't let guys choose their own gimmicks. I mean, that's what I've always thought. Every gimmick I've had, I've been given. And he ended up just like I remember just going there going, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. And then Artie was going to speak, or, you know, and so everybody sits down, and then Artie starts off the conversation with, all right, guys, just to let you know, 55%, or something like that, some outrageous number, 55% of the guys in this business are gay. He just starts off with that, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And then he goes, okay, yeah, everybody works light, and he looks at me and goes, Billy, you're too stiff. You're way too stiff. I took it as a compliment. I was like, okay, whatever, you know, and I never came back after that.
Wow.
I was just like, dude, I don't need this shit, and sure enough, you know, they just didn't, I mean, nothing ever happened to them. I think they just went out of it, or nothing ever happened, and then everybody went to EWF, the one that was running out of Simi Valley.
Okay.
Then Vern ended up starting up Slammers right after the summer again, and it was just me and a couple other guys.
Who all stayed with Slammers?
Actually, the original crew from Slammers that just stayed was me, El Toro Bravo, me, El Toro Bravo,
Is it Bear and Movie Star Mike?
Carlos, yeah, Movie Star Mike, and that was pretty much it. And then we had a few new students, and one of the students that came in was a guy named Gabriel, who was an XPW as Wantastico.
Mm-hmm.
He came in, I helped train him a little bit. Angel actually came out of that as well, but he wasn't there when I left. He had just gotten there, and you know, that was us. We pretty much started Slammers or started it up, and it was just we didn't do any shows. It was just a place to train and you know, just get down and dirty and just, you know, keep your skills there. And actually, when we got into the new building, Vern made everybody like sign these confidentiality agreements, saying, you know, if you see so and so, and it was just this long list of names, you know, everybody that was part of that DWO clique, and it's like, you know, you will not tell them where the new facility is, blah 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 blah, you know, all this stuff. So, you know, that was that was pretty much the DWO. It was a lot of, in my opinion, a lot of bitter ex-guys. And, you know, that's the way they dealt with it. It didn't go anywhere, you know, and then, but that's what I thought the DWO was.
So how long did Slammers last as far as a training place for you guys?
It lasted, I mean, I left, when did I leave? I think I left in '98. And it was a case of I was kind of asked to leave. Or it was a decision made. It was a decision that Vern allowed me to make, and you know, it was basically it was just, you know, we'd go in there, we train, and you know, we had a few new students that would come in and everything, and basically every Sunday, you know, you'd go there and train and everything, and at the time, I just had a lot of stuff going on in my life. You know, my girlfriend at the time, she was going to move up to go to San Jose State. Then my parents were leaving, and they were going to move to Georgia. And so basically it's like, either do I stay or do I go? And I just had so much shit on my plate that really wrestling couldn't, you know, take 110% of my attention like it always did. And so I wasn't going to practice or anything like that. And at the time I wasn't paying or anything like that. I just, you know, I just showed up, and that was part of the thing. I just got to show up and help with the students. And Vern just took me aside one time, and he's like, okay, what's going on with you? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, okay, you're not showing up, you're not doing anything. And realistically, I was just sick and tired of like getting the crap beat out of me in front of, you know, with greenhorns. I don't know what the hell they're doing, and I'm not showing anything for it. Nothing's happening as far as my wrestling career goes. And you know, he was just like, I just told him I have a lot of stuff going on. And he's like, for as long as I've known you, you've always had stuff going on. And I'm like, well, this is different, Vern. I can't put my attention to this. And he's like, you know something? He's like, for years I've put up with little shitheads like you telling me, you know, wrestling's my dream, and I always wanted to be a wrestler, and they always pull this shit once they find out it's not what it's about. And I'm like, Vern, you know I'm not like one of those guys. You know I'm not. I just got stuff going on, and this can't take 110% of my energy. And he's like, well, make a decision, you know, either you're here or you're not. And I chose not.
So what did you do during that time of not wrestling?
I didn't wrestle for like a year, and you know, I really wanted to get back into it. But at the time, my parents moved to Georgia. I stayed in California. Then my girlfriend went off to San Jose State, and we both decided it'd probably be better for me if I moved to Georgia, because I'd actually get a better job out there, save some money, then, you know, during Easter vacation or summer, come back out, you know, move to San Jose with her. And lo and behold, she joined a sorority. So she fucking, you know, broke up with me or whatever. And then I was like, screw this, I'm still coming back to California. and I came back to California, and I wanted to get back into wrestling, but I didn't want to do Slammers. I didn't, because it wasn't doing anything. It wasn't going anywhere. And you know, I kept in contact with Carlos. He and I talked and everything. And right when I came back is right when XPW first started, and they did their first show and everything. And I remember just hearing about it. And then you know, I see like White Trash Johnny Webb with Missy Hyatt. I'm like, wait, I know that guy. And then
so you weren't involved in the very first XPW show?
No, I wasn't.
How'd you get involved and hooked up with XPW?
Basically, it was Carlos. It was he and I were talking.
He brought you in?
Yeah, and he pretty much said, you know, he was just like, dude, I want to do XPW. He's like, dude, they got a gimmick for me and everything they want me to do. And he was all excited about it. And he's like, just to let you know, people have been asking about you. And he's like, would you want to get into it? I'm like, yeah, of course. And so I show up one Tuesday, and I show up there, and I had met. I walk in there, and I had already met Supreme and Chaos previous already at the first real show I ever did out of Slammers. They were on the show, and what was great was like me and Chaos joke about it now, and even Supreme, we joked about it, but like me and Carlos show up, and we're in real wrestling tights, so they thought we were like the real wrestlers and everything, and you know, those guys, they were just wearing, you know, Adidas pants and all that kind of crap and everything, and so they you know, I just showed up to the XPW practice, and you know, I did some stuff, and Webb was there, Homeless Jimmy was there, a lot of guys that I recognized, and D was there, and they had a meeting, and then Kevin Kleinrock was there, and I had only met Kevin once or twice before, and then Kevin's like, hey, you want to come to the meeting? I'm like, no, it's okay. He's like, no, come to the meeting. I was like, okay, and basically, you know, Rob was just addressing everybody, and I'm sitting there, and Rob's just going, he's okay, first of all, who the fuck are you? And he just points at me. I'm like, I'm Billy. I wrestle with these guys. And he's like, okay. And then Webb's like, no, he's good. And that was pretty much it. And they started talking about how they were doing like the next show. They're having like a big battle royal or something like that. And they needed extra bodies. And Carlos was like, dude, why don't you get in it? I'm like, okay. And I put my hand up. I'm like, if you need an extra body, I'll do it. And then someone came out and said, no, put a mask on him because we don't want to waste you just yet. We don't want to drop you out. And so that's how I got my first match in XPW, was just being in the battle royal, getting, you know, the crap kicked out of me in the battle royal under a blue mask.
So at that meeting, basically, Rob Black was just looking for approval on you?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, it was... And I mean, for those who know Webb doesn't say shit about anybody. So, I mean, I guess that meant a lot when he's like, no, he's good. You know, and then Carlos, everybody had a very, very high, you know, opinion of Carlos as well. So they're like, no, this is, Carlos is vouching for him as well. So that's pretty much how I got my in XPW.
What was your first impression of Rob Black?
Dick. Only because what's funny is what did Carlos say? We show up like one time. He's like I think the owners are Jewish, so don't make any Jewish jokes. I'm like okay. I don't make Jewish jokes anyway. And he's like, yeah, they film porno here and everything. So I mean, they might be doing something. You know, I'm like okay. And of course, I'm all excited. I'm like, dude, that's freaking awesome. And then ended up. I go to that first practice, and it was in the building, and I got lost or something like that, and I walk in this one office, and all I see are these huge boots, these nasty, like, moon-looking boots, on top of a desk, and the guy's on the phone, and I walked in the wrong room, like, oh, sorry, and that was it, and then we went to the meeting. That's when Rob pointed me out and everything, and that was my first encounter with Rob, and that's all he ever said to me, and then that was on a Tuesday. That Thursday, everybody told me that they come in on Thursdays to practice as well. And I went there, and no one was there. In fact, Supreme and Jimmy were there, but they were going to go watch Jasmine St. Clair dance at some club. So I was the only one there. So I got in the ring, put on my gear, got in the ring, and I just started running the ropes and getting throwing myself around because I hadn't wrestled in a year, you know. And then next Tuesday, they're, you know, company meeting again, and Rob's like, okay, where were all you guys on Thursday? And no one puts up their hands. He's like, the only guy that was here was this guy, and he was beating the shit out of himself, and no one was around. You know, and then who's it? I think Webb or somebody said, he's like, oh, he likes you, because I was just in there like, you know, throwing myself around and everything.
Impressed him a little bit there.
I guess, yeah, because I mean I remember I was just kicking the crap out of myself, throwing myself into everything that I could get my hands on, you know, and that's, you know, that was because that was the first time, you know, I think that like I said, that's when guys are like, no, he likes you, because Rob, you know, Rob's Rob. He would just be like, you know, if you're a Mexican, he'd call you a beaner. You know, if you know you're Jewish, he'd call you a Jew. You know, he was very crude, but he was very upfront that way too.
Yeah.
So.
Let me throw a couple other names at you that were involved with XPW. Patrick Hernandez.
Pat's a cool guy. He was the ref. I mean, he. I got nothing bad to say about Pat. Or he was cool. He was always just one of these guys. He'd come up. You could tell he was always just happy to be there. He was like, "So how's it going?" And he just talked to you. He was a cool guy.
Well, he was around even before it.
Well, actually, and something. The one thing I'll say about Pat is that the guy's a freaking great ref, man. He really is. I've never been in the ring with somebody that was like him because, I remember when I did the Go Funk Yourself match with Supreme, and I was so mentally and physically drained. He, just like a ref, he's like, "No, good job. But I forgot what spot it was, and I just laid there. He's like, "Come on, sell it, come on." I was like, "Oh, fuck." And, he just, a good ref will get in your ear and just remind you little things here and just, keep you on your toes and everything because realistically, that's your cheerleader right there, telling you how things are going and giving you a pep talk when you need it. Mm-hmm. So he was an awesome ref. He could do anything in there as far as he was just always there. He was one step ahead of you, or he was always on beat with you, so he always knew what was going on. He's just not like these generic guys you see now. 1, 2, 3, and they're in the corner, and all of a sudden they're getting caught up in the match, and they forget that they're the ref. They're like, oh, whoops,
yeah. They're not making themselves part of the match.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Okay, what about Kevin Kleinrock?
Kevin? Kevin's a friggin' sheep, man. He just follows anything Rob says. He's a nice guy, hell of a nice guy, but I think right now he's just. It's like there's nothing really bad I can say about him, although he's just the one impression everybody gets, and it's just, he's a little weasel. Yeah. And I don't think he means to be a weasel. He looks like a weasel, but he's just he's not. It's like he's just one of these people where it's like you ask him a question, he has to go, "Can I answer that?"
He basically does what he's told.
Oh yeah, very very much so, very much so. He's the guy has a heart of gold, and he but he it's funny because he's just like basically he'll pat you on the back, but then when you turn your back he will talk shit, and if it's like if Rob don't like you, then Kevin don't like you. And unfortunately, the one thing Kevin does do that he takes the punishment a lot from Rob, or if there's punishment towards Rob, Rob just throws him in front of it. That's who Rob uses to, if Rob doesn't want to deal with somebody on the phone or Rob's trying to not deal, Kevin just tell him I'm not here, something like that, But the kid, just like everybody, he'll tell you, he had a dream to do a wrestling thing or be part of wrestling, and he is, so
Was he involved in the business that you know of before XPW?
No, I think he was just like he was part of Slammers actually.
Kevin was.
Yeah, from what he told me, he went to Vern because he didn't want to be a wrestler. He wanted to be like a promoter. He wanted to be like the booker. But Vern wouldn't let him in on anything. Vern's like, fuck you, I'm not going to let you know what the fuck's going on. So Vern literally, from what I was told, was just dragged him along, and Kevin finally smartened up, or whatever you want to call it, and he said, forget it, I don't want to do it anymore. Because the people who actually started XPW were realistically Dynamite D, Patrick Hernandez, and Kevin. Then Rob came along and pretty much, took it over.
Took it.
So.
Okay, getting back to XPW, the very first King of the Deathmatch tournament. What are your thoughts on being involved in that?
That was it's funny because I walked into the office one day to so I gotta wipe my eye down.
That's all right.
I had to I walked in the office one day and there's just this thing on the board that says XPW first annual King of the Deathmatch tournament, and it was a sign up sheet. No one was going to be forced to be in it or anything like that. And I just remember watching ECW with Carlos and Ed, and just thinking, dude, that'd be awesome to do like a barbed wire ladder match or something like that, or just be involved in something like that, And so I jumped on it. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll be in it. And so that's how I got into the first death match, or doing my first death match. The tournament itself. It's weird because looking back on the tape, it was definitely something California had never seen. Mm-hmm. The people around here never saw any of that. And I'd never been part of it. The majority, I think, for the most part, the majority of us that were in that tournament had never done anything like that before. You know, you had guys like Axl Rotten, the veterans like Axl Rotten and everything, you know. But other than that, and Cronus, but other than that, none of us had ever done anything like that before. So, you know, I think it was a big time accomplishment for us to do that. Unfortunately, me doing as well as I did in there, I kind of bit myself in the ass because all of a sudden I got typecasted, and I started doing more. I got pushed in more death matches. You know, so what was great was I remember, you know, I went out to the second round against Supreme, and Supreme and I, we did pretty well. But I mean, I had a gusher. I was just gushing, and that was like the first or second time I ever gigged, and or that I ever bled heavily. And then I'm like, they wanted to do a thing where it's like the Japanese tapes where, you know, you're backstage and everything and whatnot. And I you know, Supreme goes over on me. I'm just lying there. Paramedics come out. Lazy comes out there. You all right? I'm like, they get me up and I start dragging back, and then Lazy goes, Webb's gonna jump you. I'm like, what? Webb's gonna jump you. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And I turn around, there's Webb with this steel thing and just hits me with it. And then, you know, that was the catalyst for he and I to do, was to start our feud. And then they pick me up, the ring crew guys pick me up, and they start walking me backstage, and it's at the Palace, so the backstage area is really dark. All I see is this one little bright light. That's all I see. So I thought it was a camera. So I'm still selling, and I'm walking down like this, I'm dragging my feet. I see Christy Mist, I see Lizzie, they're just like, oh my God, oh. I'm walking back, and then as soon as they get into more light, I see it's one of the ring crew guys with the flashlight. So all of a sudden I go, all right. And next thing I know, I see Rob running down there, Billy, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Oh, you little faggot gave me a heart attack. I'm like, no, I'm fine, I was just selling it, you know. And, you know, my only thing was, did I make the poster now? Can I be on the poster? They're like, yeah, you made the poster.
So was XPW as a company really concerned about everybody in this deathmatch tournament?
Yeah, they were. They didn't want anybody getting messed up or anything like that, or seriously injured. I mean, that night was supposed to be Supreme's night. Supreme was supposed to go before, which he did. You know, that was supposed to be all about Supreme. Lazy is the one who really started the whole deathmatch thing, or like the trophy, because he actually wanted to call, because he said, because I didn't know anything about deathmatch that much, but he's like, no, you don't have like a belt. You have a trophy, and you name the trophy something. He wanted to call it the Bruiser Brody Trophy. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And they're like, no, we're going to have a champ. You know, forget, we're actually going to have a champ. And Lazy's the one who pretty much came, he's the one that came, from what I was told, or from what I understand, Lazy's the one who started. So as long as they got a deathmatch belt there, there's always going to be a piece of Lazy there, regardless of Rob likes it or not. And it was you know, we did the show, we did that match. And then, you know, on top of that, that's when Shane Douglas came out and did his little shoot thing and everything, because he wasn't supposed to do anything like that. He was just there to see the show. You know, and he took it upon himself to come out there and, you know, because get involved, you know. Whether it was because of his ego and he just wanted to be on a mic, or whether it's because he actually saw a bunch of young kids busting their ass, I don't know. But, you know, he just wanted to be involved in it and everything. So, I mean, that night was definitely like a night that I'll never forget. And it was just, the whole entire night was very surreal, because never in a million years did I think I'd ever be doing that, or doing anything close to that, getting put through thumbtacks and, you know, all that crap.
So you say you basically got labeled as kind of like a deathmatch type hardcore wrestler. So after that tournament, were you at least asked to do those type of matches, or were you forced?
Well, you weren't necessarily forced, but, you know, you walk in the office and then it's like, here's the lineup for next show. Candido versus so-and-so, Supreme Messiah deathmatch. Deathmatch? What? Another one? Yeah, you're going to do another deathmatch. Okay. You know, you really don't say anything, but
Did you ever get tired of doing it?
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, I get tired of doing it now. You know, I get tired of bleeding and everything like that, and it's just, you know, unfortunately, I've had discussions about this with other guys. It's like, you know, I'd like to think I'm a pretty good pro wrestler, that I'm a good accomplished wrestler. I can do, you know, I can mat wrestle, I can do all. That's what I was taught. But unfortunately, you know, no, it's not even unfortunately, but I'm also a good deathmatch worker. I know how to do stuff in death matches, you know, like Johnny Cashmere in CZW. He'll straight out tell you, dude, I know tag matches. I know how to do a tag match. Single match, I don't know, but tag matches, I know how to do that. You know, with me, guess what? Death match, I can freaking put on a damn good death match. You know, I know what I'm doing with that. So it was, you know, I was never forced to do any of that stuff, but it was like, my whole, you know, my whole thing is like, either put up or shut up. Don't bitch and moan about doing the match. Just do the best that you can do.
Yeah.
You know, and then one of the drawbacks about doing death matches is that guys that I do look up to, you know, or guys that I do admire, or guys that I do have respect for in this business, look down on me for doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and so all they think is that I'm a garbage wrestler and that I can't do anything else.
Yeah, you weren't able to showcase most of your wrestling ability in a death match.
That, you know, the only way I can get over is putting myself through a bunch of thumbtacks. You know, and I'd like to think, you know, whether or not he's blowing smoke up my ass, I don't know. Like when I wrestled Christopher Daniels, you know, he got on the mic and just said, "Dude, you're in my respect. You got a lot of talent and everything." Whether or not he was just doing that for the people that were around there, I don't know. But that actually meant a lot to me, because that's one of the guys where it's like, dude, you know, I wrestled Chris Daniels, and, you know, the guy's friggin' awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
worldwide popular.
Yeah, exactly. And for him to do that and say that, I was very honored that he did that. You know, so.
How long did it take before you got a big, solid push in XPW?
It didn't take that long. It was weird because originally my gimmick in XPW was supposed to be Luke. I was supposed to be part of a tag team called Luke and Matthew, the Moral Crusaders. Like Bible thumping brothers, you know, that kind of thing. You know, use rosaries to like choke people out and that kind of stuff. And I was excited. I thought that was a pretty good friggin' gimmick. It was just you know, basically it's like I was, you know, the Luke and Matthew were standing up to what XPW stood for, which was, you know, pornography, violence, that kind of stuff. It was very much like how the Right to Censor thing was. And, you know, this gimmick was even before the Right to Censor gimmick ever happened. And they kept me under the blue mask for a couple shows because I can make people look good. So basically, I was jobbing out to like Nicole Bass and everything, trying to make her look like a monster because she didn't know what the fuck she was doing at all. Mm-hmm. You know, she gave me a choke slam one time, dropped me absolutely on my head. Yeah, and but of course it was my fault. She blamed it on me. But finally, I you know, I remember one time Rob, I was like lacing up my boots, and Rob he's like, "Hey, I was thinking about you last night." He's like, I had an idea for a gimmick, but then because where I worked, I couldn't have facial hair or grow my hair out or anything like that. He's like, "But you can't do it." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that's too bad." And next week he's like, I'm like, "Well, I got an idea for a gimmick. Can I talk to you about it?" He's like, "Yeah, okay." And I was able to get a meeting with him, and Supreme was there and Kevin was there, and I just pretty much said, "Dude, you know, I know you got this idea for me, you know, the Moral Crusader gimmick. Let me do it as a singles." And, you know, once someone comes along that fits the bill as far as the tag team goes, you got yourself a tag team right there. Mm-hmm. And he just looked, and he's like, "I don't know." And Supreme's like, "Dude, let him do it. Let him do it." And Rob's like, "Okay, I'll let you do it, but if it doesn't work, it's your ass." You know, and Kevin said something, and Rob said something like, "No, you know, if he does this well, I want to push this character. I want to push this gimmick." And he was like, "Okay." And my, so finally you know, I think I did my last match as Lunatic, you know, jobbing out to Nicole Bass, and then I debuted as Messiah. Or actually, I didn't even have a name, because I remember they wanted me to do like this big promo. Kevin actually printed out or wrote out this script for me to memorize for the promo to the crowd, and I memorized it as best as I could. But even I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And then, as far as I knew, I was supposed to be Luke the Moral Crusader. I go into practice one day. Rob's like, "Hey, what's up, Jesus?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Hey, what's up, Jesus?" He's like, "That's your gimmick. You're going to be Jesus." I'm like, "No, I can't. I'm not going to be Jesus." He's like, "Why not?" I'm like, "Dude, I go to church. I've even went to Brazil to build a church one time. I can't be Jesus. There's no way I can do it." You know, and Rob's whole thing was, "Stop being a pussy. You know, don't be a pussy about it. Don't be a pussy about it." And Kevin actually stood up for me. He's like, "No, don't. Dude, the guy can't do it. Don't let him do it." So my first show, I didn't have a name. They didn't even call it. The ring announcer at the time, it was against White Trash Johnny Webb, and he gets on the mic and he says, you know, "White Trash Johnny Webb," whatever, and then he goes in this corner, "Jesus." What? Oh. And I got in his face, and I'm like, "Don't you ever call me that again." The guy's name was Guido. I'm like, "Don't you ever call me that again, Guido. Don't you ever friggin' do it." And so Rob and Kevin, or one of them, is like, "Okay, well, it's either Messiah or Savior." And I was like, "I don't care, you know, whatever." And, you know, they got the name Messiah. And then my first match was against Webb. That was all right. Yeah, because what happened was my first match was with Webb, and then I wrestled Carlito. And
which event was that?
That was abusive. No, that was like the Merry Xmas. That's when I debuted, and that was in '99, I think, or 2000. And then the next month we did the deathmatch tournament. And right after deathmatch tournament, I remember we did our next show. The next month, my music hits, and I just hear this this roar, you know, and I'm like, wow, I got a nice little pop, and I go out there, I wrestled Webb, you know, I did pretty well, and then little by little I started getting like Rob and all of them started paying attention to the internet, and the fans were like, no, Messiah is good, you know, this, that, you know. It was really the fans who gave me the push. It wasn't Rob or them. Rob just went with what the fans said.
Yeah, he had no choice.
You know, and that's essentially what happened. And then Candido won the belt, and then Candido, the next show, was it? No, I can't remember. Oh no! After we did the death match, then we did one more show at the Palace. Then we had our first LA Sports Arena show where I wrestled Webb in the steel cage, and I took that you know 15 foot high. I went off the top of the cage through a table on the outside, and then the next month we did a double hitter. I think it was like we did Bakersfield, and then we did LA Sports Arena, but Candido no-showed or something like that, and so they just decided to strip Candido of the belt, and they did a tournament in Bakersfield, and they put me and Sabu in the final of the tournament. You know, and that was like my first name, if you want to call it that I wrestled. And,
I was working with Sabu.
I was scared shitless, man. I was scared shitless. I remember he the day that I think it was the day before we did the show or something like me and Supreme, we did like a run-in or something like that, and all Sabu was supposed to do was just like take the tire iron to her head or something like that. And you know, I'm getting ready and I got my little blade and everything to gig, and he's talking to me. I don't know if I looked nervous, and then he looked at me and goes, "Don't be nervous." I was like, "Oh, okay." You know, I guess I looked it. I don't know. And then
either that or he's screwing with you.
Yeah, which he does that too. I didn't know that back then, but yeah, he fucking screws with you as much as he can. And then I wrestled him in the finals, and literally I got no offense in that match. It was just all Sabu kicking the crap out of me. Whatever he said, I did, you know. And that was my own fault, because guys like that, you know, Sabu, you don't take anything, or you know, he'll just beat the crap out of you.
He just took advantage.
He just took advantage a little bit. But you know, everything I did, I got little shots in here and there, you know. But from what I was told after the match, he was like, "No, the kid's good." He's like, he listens. He's good, and that was pretty much it. And you know, like I said, it was more or less the fans that gave me my push, because Rob was the one. They just like, because I remember Axel Rotten was there, and Axel for the tournament. Axel like, "Why don't you just let me and Sabu wrestle each other?" He's like, "No, I'm gonna have Messiah." And he's like, "Why are you gonna have that kid do it?" It's like, the fans talk about him all the time, man. They fucking love him.
Give the fans what they want.
You know, and that's what it was. What was great about that match is I remember who's beating the crap out of me. I got no offense. I'm against the guardrail, this kid comes up to me, patting me on like, "You're doing great. You're doing awesome." I was like, okay.
All right, let me throw some more names at you that were in XPW at the time. Johnny Webb. Your feelings.
Webb's a great guy. I mean, I think he's like me in an aspect, or in the respect of people think I come off as a dick a lot because I'm quiet. I'm just naturally quiet. I don't really talk a lot or anything like that. And but Webb, it was funny. We did a match in Bakersfield one time, and Webb, it's weird. Webb's just one of these guys where I guess when he got into wrestling, he's really into it. Then shortly thereafter, he's like, "I don't like it anymore." And Rob kept on, "You got to wrestle, because his knees were hurting him and everything. And he'd always joke, "I don't even want to wrestle. I don't want to wrestle. I hate wrestling." He'd always joke about that. And I did a match with him one time in Bakersfield, and we're done with it, and I go outside. And Webb doesn't give compliments at all. He just doesn't. That's not Webb. He doesn't do that. He doesn't talk nice or anything. He makes jokes about everything. You know, he's one of the most sarcastic sons of bitches I ever met in my life. But that's what makes him Webb. That's what makes him great. And I remember I'm just sitting there, or I walk outside. I see Webb in the corner. And Webb smokes like 20 packs of cigarettes a day. And I walk outside, and I see in this dark corner just this little red light from a cigarette, and it's Webb. I'm like, "You all right?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, Billy." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Good match, man. Thanks. I really appreciate it." I'm like, "No problem, dude. Don't even worry about it." And that was like the only compliment I ever got from him. And you know, he was the guy that pretty much ran. If you want to talk, dude, he did everything on Extreme. He edited everything, whether it be wrestling or the adult. You know, that guy put in like 18-hour days all the time. You know, chances are, if you were at the office, Webb was there, and when you left, Webb was still going to be there. That's just the way he was.
Workaholic?
He was big time workaholic. You know, he busted his ass for that company, big time. You know, he. In fact, when I went to that Night of the Champions show, and for XPW, and that's when Webb wrestled Shane Douglas, and like Webb and I, we didn't see eye to eye on some things, but it wasn't like nasty kind of thing. It was just like certain like show stuff and that kind of crap. And when I left Extreme, I know a lot of people talked a lot of shit while I wasn't there. You know, and they assumed a lot of things, and they pretty much talked a lot of shit. And Webb,
the locker room in general,
not even, it wasn't the locker room, it was the office. And I know Webb was one of those guys. But when the Night of the Champions thing happened, I showed up to the show, and I was just there to see the show. I mean, I stayed off hard cam. I wasn't trying to get any attention whatsoever. But Webb and Shane Douglas wrestled each other, and the match blew chunks. It was horrible. You could tell Webb's knee was killing him. It was just killing him. The crowd wasn't responding. They were chanting boring, throwing a beach ball around and everything. And it was just a horrible show. Or not a horrible show, but the match just it wasn't good.
Was that the main event?
No, that was the semi-main event. And next day I get a call from Webb. I had all my friends were over, and one of them answered the phone. I'm like, "Who's it?" Webb. I'm like, "Webb? What the hell is Webb calling me for?" Talk to him, and Webb pretty much, and he's like me, he's just a straight shooter. He's like, "Heard you didn't like my match." And I was like, "No, dude, it sucked. It was horrible." He's like, "Dude, but my knee." I'm like, "Dude, no." I'm like, "Webb, it sucked, but dude, you continued the match. I'll give it up to you, dude. I'll give it up to you, but dude, the match sucked." And then he's just like, "What were you doing at that show?" I'm like, "Dude, I was there to support the boys, support you guys. I mean, dude, I went there to watch a wrestling show." And he's just like, "You and I go way back." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "No, we just go way back. That's why I'm calling you. Dude, just watch yourself." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "No, seriously, Billy, watch yourself. Just be careful." I was like, "Okay." And that was the last conversation I ever had with Webb.
So he might have heard something.
I know he knew something, or he heard something. I mean, he heard something or he knew something. But like I said, Webb keeps to himself. He doesn't talk to anybody.
We'll get back to that part later. But what about Homeless Jimmy?
Jimmy, as dumb as a box of nails, but has a heart of gold. He'll do anything and everything. I mean, the craziest stuff I've ever seen in my life. And dude, he'll walk away and just, how'd that look? Oh, you mean getting thrown off 30 feet off? Oh yeah, that was fine. Dude, he looked awesome. Okay, he was just, dude. He was he's definitely a character. I mean, it was good to see him when I did the CZW Tournament of Death. He was there. It was good to see him and everything, and talk to him and catch up with him.
So you guys are good?
Yeah, everything's cool with Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy's a cool guy. Just I think he was just one of these guys where he, in order to get over with the fans, he had to do the craziest stuff in the world. And I remember it was funny, like when New Jack was there and Jimmy were there. New Jack goes out there with a trash can full of goodies. Jimmy goes out there with a shopping cart full of goodies. They're both taking each other's shit like this, like they're not looking at each other, just like this. Put it over here. Jimmy's like, "All right, take this, put it over here." They're just stealing each other's stuff. It was the funniest thing in the world.
What about Damian Steele?
Damian Steele, I didn't know him that well. He, I personally think, he was the way Rob described it was like, he's like, "Dude, he's got the look, but he sucks." That's what Rob would say. He's got the look, but he sucks.
Well, at least he knew that.
And he when he left, he left XPW on good terms and right terms. He's like, "Dude, I'm leaving. I'm going to go back to UPW, but I want to put over the Billy and Chaos and that kind of stuff." So, I got nothing bad to say about him or anything like that. He was the I mean, dude, he was XPW's first champ. So he definitely looked the part. He spoke it. I mean, one of the great mic worker. But he he's just just like a lot of guys. I guess he has like personal demons he's dealing with. And hopefully he overcomes them.
Big Dick Dudley.
Big Dick Dudley. Big Dick Dudley. Al Rizzo. He was a cool guy. I never had like any conversations with him or anything like that. But he was a really, really cool guy. He was like a lot of the guys in XPW. If it wasn't for him, XPW wouldn't have gotten a lot of the names that they got in the beginning, because it was like he was the one that had the contacts.
Yeah, he was help booking, right?
Yeah. As far as I knew, like I don't know if he did the booking or anything like that, but he was it was like when I think about it now, it's the funniest thing. But back then, he was like the first name I ever saw up close. So in a weird way, I was in kind of awe of him because, dude, this is like the guy I've seen on pay-per-views, you know. And then, what he did something. I forgot what it was. It was just, it's like I remember he was going around. We had to do a run and we all get choke slammed. He's like, can you take a choke slam? You know how to take a choke slam? Take a choke slam? You want to take a choke slam? Like, dude, like he's giving out candy. Like, you want to take a choke slam? You know, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'll fucking take it. All right. No, he was cool. I mean, like, XPW owes a lot of its success as far as bringing in names and everything to him.
Yeah.
You know, he was one of the guys that helped XPW definitely get its feet off the ground.
One more for you, Larry Rivera.
Oh, Chico, he's fucking
Chico.
awesome, dude. I love Larry. I remember, my first initial, you know, thing of Larry was just like, dude, this guy sucks. Fucking horrible. I don't like it, you know. But, you know, once it just grew on you, and I loved it. One of the funniest bits I ever saw was him and Rob, when Rob gave him a guitar, and he started playing the guitar and everything, and Rob's like singing like ABC or some Jackson 5 song. It was funny as hell, you know. And dude, Larry was freaking great. I loved him. I mean, he, you know, I never once saw him in a bad mood. He'd walk in there, and you know, he greet you with a Chico and a hug and everything. You know, he was awesome. You know, so hopefully, you know, something else will happen around here. You know, that he'll get back on TV because, like my initial thing was, dude, this sucks. Oh, this is horrible. But then it just grew on. You know, as time grew on, him and Klaus actually got, you know, they started gelling better together. So it just came off better too. So he was awesome. I loved Larry.
Do you know his reasons for leaving at all?
No, I mean, he just pretty much told me, it was like, you know, the way Extreme did stuff was like, be here at 10. We're going to shoot at 10. Okay, guess what? We're shooting at 3. You know, and dude, some people, like, dude, they got lives. You know, they got stuff to do, and Larry's one of those guys, and from what I was told, Larry just got pissed off one night and was like, dude, you told me to be here, you know, something happened, and Rob blew up at him and said, fine, then get out of here, and Larry's like, fine. And then they pulled that bullshit thing with getting the fake Larry Rivera, using Wantastico, which was like the biggest slap in the face, and it was horrible. That's where like their booking, like I've always said, XPW, the boys, top notch. The Office has their head up their ass. I mean, that in itself, that you could just use that as Exhibit A right there. Dude, they took an established already gimmick, and then they just gave it to somebody else just because he kind of had the accent. Like you know, like it's a movie. Like just because, you know, Tobey Maguire can't, you know, did Spider-Man, he can't do Spider-Man 2. They're gonna just get another guy to do it.
No.
Dude, it's like,
just
dude,
like Batman.
Dude, you might as well just spit in the fan's face and just say, we think you're toddlers and you're not paying attention to stuff.
Well, that gimmick did not get over at all.
No, it didn't. It sucked. You know, you need, dude. It has to be. It's just like, you know, it's kind of like what they did with Ultra Boy Luke. Dude, that was a completely blatant ripoff of me. It totally was. I don't care what any friggin' Mark says. It was. Dude, they went over. Luke. That was supposed to be my original gimmick. You know, and he came out, and dude, I've seen bits and pieces of the kid. Like I saw him at the Night of Champions. The kid does friggin' flips, all that stuff. That's awesome. You know, but dude, it's not me, and I'm not saying I'm the greatest thing in the world. Believe me, I think I suck half the time. But dude, you can't treat the fans like it's 1980s wrestling. You know, it just doesn't work anymore that way. You know, just like they blatantly took, dude, Tool. Then all of a sudden they come out with Snuff. You know, or was it the West Siders, and they got the Black Panthers. Dude, come on, get the, you know, we know you're stealing your shit from movies anyway, but you're gonna redo the gimmick all over again?
Yeah. Supreme as a person and as a worker.
As a person, the guy's great. I mean, he's, dude, awesome father, awesome husband. You know, I had a lot of good times with him. He and I mean, I don't talk to him anymore at all. He was, dude, as a person, he's just, you know, he's an awesome guy. He was one of my best friends in XPW. As a worker, dude, like I said, I mean, when it comes to death matches, he knows his shit. He really, really, really does. You know, I haven't seen any of his new stuff. I know he's wrestling like Justice Pain and everything, in which I've wrestled him. You know, so you know, I know Justice Pain can be a pain in the ass to work. So I seriously wonder how their stuff looked together. But you know, as a worker, he like I said, top death match worker. You know, the guy can do some mat wrestling. But I think right now, and I know when I was leaving, and even when I was gone, we talked. He's just like, dude, I don't care anymore. He's like, dude, XPW allowed me to live my dream of going to Japan, and I got to do death matches. I got to do an exploding death match, Like Supreme's definitely one of the guys who loves doing death matches. He loves it. He gets off on it, you know. So he's gotten to live his dream. You know, right now I think he's going with the flow. You know, and
his heart might not all be into it anymore.
Yeah, especially now you know Chaos left. I mean, whether or not he's coming back, it's definitely XPW is definitely not what it was. It's not anymore. It's just basically a fed for a bunch of ex-WCW and ECW workers to go to.
Okay, here's a big one: the ECW Heatwave 2000 pay-per-view, crashing the event.
Oh, jeez.
Explain the event in your words.
In my words, it's funny. This is like the one question everybody asks. We just went there to show our T-shirts. That's all it was. You know, at the time there was like this lawsuit going on. ECW was suing Extreme over the name Extreme. You know, which was a bullshit lawsuit because there's plenty of companies out there even at that time that had the word Extreme in it. But we went there, and Rob had bought like the whole entire front row, a couple bleacher seats, and we went there and just want to wear our T-shirts. So we had our T-shirts on. We go up to the front. Alice security stops us and like, we can't let you in with these T-shirts. Why not? There's a lawsuit going on. You can't wear it. Sorry. If you turn the T-shirts inside out, we'll allow you to come back in. But if you show these T-shirts at any time, we're having LAPD escort you out. We're like, okay. Well, we come to find out like they're even taking like XPW signs, everything, and so we walk in there, and I just remember it was like a rush of people just came up to us. We were getting more recognized at the ECW show than we were at our own shows, you know. And we sit down and basically we just, dude, don't move, just watch the show. Don't pop for anything. And we're like, okay, yeah, no problem. So we're sitting there, and all of a sudden it's like you know the phone game. It's coming from one ear to the other. Okay, when Christy stands up, we're all showing our T-shirts. What? And sure enough, she stands up. I'm like, what the fuck? Everybody stands up. I'm like, oh, here we go. Take it off. And all of a sudden I feel like these hands come over and grab me and almost pull me over the guardrail. They actually ripped my T-shirt off me. And turn around and, you know, it was out of security or whatever. And then, you know, half the building starts chanting XPW, half the building starts chanting ECW. And then get up and I'm being escorted out by LAPD. I have my hands behind my back. Chaos is in front of me. Walking. You know, people are like, fuck XPW. Yeah, XPW, you know. And all of a sudden I get this whack upside the head. I'm like, what the hell was that? I turn around, and it looks like this old drunken fan, hasn't shaved, all balding, long hair. I'm looking at Chaos, and I look again. It's Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman, he's like, you motherfucker, you. He just fucking he hit me, and we get taken outside, and then there he is. He's like, come on, hit me right now, you pussy. And there's like 4 LAPD officers behind him, and then Chaos. I'm like, dude, he's just keeping his mouth shut. I'm like, dude, Paul, we're not gonna hit you. All we want to do is wear our T-shirts. That's all we wanted to do, but you wouldn't let us do that. And he's like, come on, hit me, you pussy. And he spits in Chaos's face. And Chaos is like, ugh, and I'm like, dude, no, we're not going to hit you. And he spits at me. He's like, come on, hit me, come on, you pussy, hit me. I'm like, no, I'm not going to hit you so I can get freaking taken off so they can arrest me right now. No, I'm not going to do it. Pussy. And he just, you know, he leaves. Goes back inside, and we're walking outside. And I see this door fling open. All these people come out, all the workers, you know. And I had Balls Mahoney and Kid Cash in my face. And they're just like, dude, what's going on? I'm like, dude, we just wanted to wear our T-shirts. That's all we wanted to do. What the hell? And no one ever took a swing at me, you know. And then all of a sudden there was like a little tuffle going on, like in the corner, and I just see Jimmy like doing this to somebody, like just beating the crap out of somebody, and that was pretty much it, you know. And then we just went there to wear the T-shirts. I mean, no one like the one thing that everybody talks about is like. Either one of us took a swing at Francine, which never happened, or that Francine took a swing at Christy, or one of the Alice security took a swing at Christy. That never happened. What happened was like Supreme was they're trying to take off Supreme's shirt. Supreme's like, no, give me my shirt. They're, you know, pulling or whatever. Christy's on a chair, and he runs into her and she falls. That's what happened. No one ever took a swing at Christy or Francine or anything like that. And as far as I know, none of the XPW workers, none of us got hit at all. It was 2 female fans and some Marine Crew kids. That's who they beat the crap out of, you know. And that was the incident. But I mean, I think, you know, I think it was ballsy and pretty stupid of us just to go over there and be like, yeah, we can, you know, we'll do what I want. Because Rob's whole thing was, this is our turf, you know. And then
how do you feel of him not being there?
at the time I thought he was a pussy because this was his big thing. I'm like, is Rob going? And Kevin's like, no, he's not going. Why isn't he going? He's just not. He's not going to go. What was great was that like Atlas Security actually had because Kevin went and sat there and was just Kevin said that they actually had like security guards there for Rob and him and Lizzie just to keep an eye on him and Rob and them, and they're at his pad watching it on pay-per-view. And I just remember, like, is Rob coming? No, he's not going to come. Why not? He doesn't do this kind of stuff. That's when I realized right then and there, it's like, I mean, I remember I was driving with Chaos, and Chaos is like, what's wrong, man? I'm like, dude, this is bullshit. That was wrong. That's what I even said. So that was so wrong what just happened. And we all go to Rob's house, and then, it's like a big party over there that this happened. But Rob's whole thing was, good or bad publicity is still publicity. So, I mean, he got what he wanted out of it. But I just remember thinking, this is stupid.
Do you think being involved with that hurt your career at all?
See, if you'd asked me then, I would have been like, yeah. Now I think, I'm just doing my own thing and I'm having a great time. I mean, I think with the way the powers in wrestling have shifted, how there's just one dominant Fed now, and and it's I think it has in some kind of way, because some people just can't let it go, whether or not, like I said, whether or not WWE even knows I exist, I don't know. Whether or not they've even considered me, I don't know. All I know is that Paul Heyman works there, and I'm willing to bet if Paul Heyman remembers me at all, yeah, I'm never getting there.
Your name might be on a list.
Yeah, it's on a very, very long list of people that are just banned, and I'm sure my name is on there somewhere.
All right, getting back to Sabu, I mean, you mentioned basically, elaborate a little bit more on Sabu and your thoughts on him and working with him.
I love working. Anytime I get a chance, because really working him is really easy. It's very simple. Dude, the guy single-handedly revolutionized the business. He made tables cool. He
and made some company very rich.
Yeah, exactly. And he, it was just the chance to work him is great. I mean, actually, that I can call him a friend is I think is awesome too. He definitely showed me little things here and there that I thought was awesome. When we did Gathering the Juggalos, it was me, Chaos, and Almost Jimmy. He took care of us because none of us had ever been on the road before. We never did like a show. We only did XPW. We only drove to do something. We never been on a plane or anything like that. So he took care of us. He watched out for us. And I think he's an awesome guy. I think a lot of people, especially these internet fans, get on his ass all the time. He's not what he used to be. Well, guess what? Do what he did for the past God knows how many long years. Let's see how great your body's gonna, do, and let's see how well you're gonna perform. Because I know for a fact when I wrestled him, every time I wrestled him, he's been on the money. So I mean, it's like, dude, I just love the internet fans that just criticize him. Dude, get your friggin' shut up, get off your asses, and you try to do what he did.
Yeah, I'm not too thrilled on the internet fans. A lot of these people don't even go to the shows themselves. They just sit behind the computer.
No, you're exactly right. Either they don't have the talent to get in there, or they don't have the balls. But they know how a wrestling match is supposed to work. They know how to run a wrestling company.
Yeah,
they know how to do angles.
Yeah.
That's why it's like, dude, whatever. Like Zandig and I had to talk about this, and it's just like, dude, for every, it's funny because it's not like I can be like Jay and Silent Bob and go to everybody's fucking house to talk shit and punch him out, And it's just funny. You take it with a grain of salt. You just like, dude, whatever. Because these are the same kids who are like, man, this guy sucks. But once you're there, dude, hey, how's it going to shake your hand?
Exactly.
That's what I love about it. It's just like, dude, hey, I didn't say that. I never said anything.
No.
All right, I'll watch you just cut that right now. Anytime.
Can you hear us? Yep. All right, let's get your thoughts on a few more names in the XPW. The ladies, like Lizzie Borden.
Lizzie Borden, great, superb actress. That's all I'll say about her.
Okay. Christy Mist.
She's like one of my best friends. I mean, when we were both part of XPW, I mean, we were just like occasional hi, that kind of thing. No, she and her little, she has a little daughter. I absolutely love, man. I mean, she like I tell her, she's my favorite girl in the world, you know, and that's who, you know, they when the whole attack thing happened, I mean, they were like the people that I hung out with. Those are the people I surround myself with. You know, she's a great lady. I mean, she can be a bitch at times, but
they all can.
But like, yeah, but like what girl can't?
Yeah.
But she, yeah, they, you know, she, I mean, like I said, when I was in XPW, we weren't like friends. I mean, we'd like occasional hi, and she'd, you know, flirt with me or something like that, or
Passing in a lot.
yeah, just goof off kind of thing. And then basically, it's when I got fired that she and I started, because she had already left Extreme. And then when I got fired, she and I, what was ironic was it was when I was at Extreme, she and I started talking again. She had gotten fired, and then Dee was gotten a hold of her, and then we started talking. I remember we were at some meeting, and I was going to meet up with her later to go hang out, and my phone rings, and Rob's like, "That's for me." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "That's for me." I'm like, "All right, here you go." I answer the phone. He takes it. He's like, I don't know what. He's like, "Hello, like this is Billy." That's what he did, and it was Christy, and he got freaked out. He's like, "Oh, here you go." You know, but she I mean, she doesn't do any wrestling anymore. She doesn't do adult anymore. You know, she's just being a mom. You know, and you know, like I said, she was definitely there for me when I needed her, and you know, her little girl I love to death. You know, both of them. You know, they're just two great people.
Okay, what about Jessica Darling?
Jessica, she's a sweetheart. She really is. I mean, she'll tell you she's a bitch. She's definitely one of those don't get in my face kind of things, you know. And she was one of the, when I worked at Extreme, she was cool. It's funny because when I first started working at Extreme, you know, the whole idea of basically like her husband is a director, directing her to have sex on film, and it's like how does he do that? How do you guys have a marriage like that? And it's just funny because I mean I'm still naive to the whole thing, but like especially back then I was really naive, and I still don't understand it. But you know, she and both her husband, you know, I had separate conversations with both of them about it, just like how do you do that? And you know, she was definitely like the girl who was like, okay, you know, opened my eyes to that business a little bit and how they're able to do this and do that and everything. And she was cool. I mean, she was funny as hell. You know, she was one of the things that made the locker room fun because you know she'd just pick a fight with anybody. She didn't care if you were New Jack or somebody. She didn't care how big you were or anything like that. She'd just pick a fight with you.
All right. Well, they might not be girls, but they do wear makeup. The Insane Clown Posse.
Those guys are cool, man. I've never been a big fan of their music, you know, but when we did The Gathering, I thought that was the greatest thing in the world. I mean, they're Detroit boys like myself, so you know, I thought it was just being able to be on that tour with them to do the Gathering was awesome, and have them in XPW. That was really cool because a lot of the boys were actually fans of them, so it was cool to see how they reacted to them and everything. And you know, it was. I remember when we did The Gathering, you know, the one thing they kept on doing was like thanking us for being there, and we're like, no, you got it all wrong. We thank you for bringing us out here, you know, because originally me, Chaos, and Joey were doing it for free. We were going out there for free because basically XPW and St. Clown Posse had a deal where it's like, dude, we'll wrestle you. Well, I think it was like they'll wrestle 3 shows for free or 2 shows for free or something like that, in exchange for us or something like that. So basically, the responsibility of getting paid came down to XPW. They were supposed to pay us.
Oh.
You know, that's how I looked at it, though. And then Joey and Jimmy pretty much, you know, they gathered together like, we're gonna ask these guys for money. We're not getting paid. We're gonna ask for money. I'm like, no, don't do it. It's not their place to pay us and everything. Well, they found out because Sabu was pissed off we weren't getting paid. And then finally, Violent J came up. He's like, I heard you guys are doing this for free. I'm not gonna have that. We're gonna take care of you guys. You know, and it was just awesome. We had a great time there. I hope I get to do it again. You know, it was just awesome. They had us they invited us to be part, like to go because they had like seminars there, and they had like a seminar for kids with at the gather for the Insane Clown Posse. And during the seminar, he's like, "Hey, you guys want to come in and just watch it?" We're like, "Yeah." So we're sitting there, and one of the kids go, "Yeah, hey, what's up with that punk ass Pogo the Clown fucking you up like that, man?" And then all 3 of us just sit down in our seats like this, and he's like, "No, we got no problem with XPW. Those guys are cool. In fact, we got 3 of their superstars and like stand up guys." And we're just like, "Oh shit." We stand
on the
up.
spot.
Yeah, we're just like, all right, you know, and it was awesome. I hope I get to do it again.
Are they still running their shows?
I think so. Yeah, I mean they just did another gathering, but you know, I almost got it. I was this close, but they had already booked everything, you know, and did all that stuff. And hopefully, like this year, can be, you know, part of it. They always say they're going to run like JCW like tours, but you know, they never do.
Yeah, it always falls through.
It just always falls through. So.
According to their website, they have something going on with XPW right now.
Oh, really?
Again, wow! I thought they had a falling out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like whatever's good business. You know, maybe they just think it's good business. You know, for both. I know for a fact, if anybody who gets Insane Clown Posse, if you do it right, if you market it right, you will get a shitload of Juggalo kids there. You really, I mean, that was the scariest weekend of my life and the funnest weekend of my life because those kids take their shit seriously. Some guy was driving down the street blaring Eminem, and I just saw a swarm of kids start chasing this friggin' car. You know, they tore. It was in Toledo. They tore the city of Toledo apart. There was a Bob's Big Boy down the street. You know, they have like the little statue of Bob.
Yeah.
Dude, some kids took like a magic marker and just made a clown face on him and everything.
Oh,
you couldn't walk around without your feet like sticking to the floor because of all the Faygo that they just put everywhere. Damn. In fact, they took over. They one night we were in the hotel room, and the smoke alarm goes off because in the whole entire like on one of the floors because the kids don't have rooms. They just have enough money to get into the gathering, but they don't have room, so they're sleeping in the hallways, smoking, setting off the smoke detectors. And who was it? Violent J or one of them had actually and they were just being rowdy, and I felt bad because there was like this whole wedding party who came in, and they actually, I think they woke up like Shaggy 2 Dope, the hotel like people woke him up and took him to their office so he could get on the intercom and be like, Juggalos, this shit ain't cool, you gotta stop. It's 2 in the morning, they're gonna kick us out. You know, it was the funniest thing in the world.
All right, your thoughts on your run as the XPW champion as well as the King of Deathmatch champion?
The deathmatch. I mean, the deathmatch thing. It was cool. I mean, I didn't defend the damn belt one damn time. You know, because it was like it made no sense because I beat Supreme for it, but then I was put into a feud with Sabu, or basically put into a feud with heavyweights for the world title. So I never defended the belt one damn time. It was just stupid, sloppy booking on that, you know. I mean, maybe there was no way around it. I don't know. It was cool because I was the first one ever wore like the deathmatch belt, and that was a friggin' nice belt, heavy as hell, but it was a nice belt. You know? And then when I became world champ, I didn't agree with it only because I never beat Sabu for it. I beat New Jack for it. I mean,
yeah. What was that whole angle?
Dude, I don't know. I just worked there.
So, well, what happened? Explain.
Basically, you know, Sabu pretty much busted his ass for a year defending that belt. You know, in Mexico, Japan, everywhere else in between. You know, XPW.
He got XPW lots.
Yeah, he did. He did. You know, and he wasn't able to do the show because he had a Japan booking. And you know, Rob. And I remember this. We'd seen The Crime, and Sabu's like, okay, well, why don't you let Messiah go over on me for the belt? The next show, I'll come back and beat him for it, or you know, the other show after that, I'll come back and beat him for it. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. He's like, why? Just do it. I'm not going to be here for the next show. And he's like, I don't want to do it. And I remember I'm looking at Lazy, and I was like, dude, Sabu says beat him, dude. Fuck, if he's going to let me go over, dude. You know, Sabu doesn't let anybody go over on him.
Yeah.
You know, dude, let him. You know, let's do it. And he decided not to. And said they had like did an angle where it's like, hey, you know, hey, Lazy, guess what? You know, if Sabu doesn't defend that belt, guess it's going to get defended one way or another. So either you're going to do it or you're going to find somebody in the back to do it. Well, Lazy comes out. I beat the shit out of him. Almost go for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Music hits. It's New Jack. And me and New Jack just proceed to beat the crap out of each other. And I go over on New Jack for the belt. Okay, what the hell was that? It made absolutely no sense. I didn't agree with it at all. You know, I remember even telling Rob, I'm like, dude, I don't want to. Dude, the fans are going to shit all over this. They really are. I remember Lazy. Sabu didn't know. Lazy told me that he told Sabu like a few days after the show, and Sabu's like, so what happened to the show? He told him. He's like, yeah, Messiah went over on New Jack. Oh, really? Yeah, for the belt. What? He was pissed, and he had every right to be. I mean, the guy worked his ass off trying to make it, you know, a legitimate belt, and then I just beat New Jack for it. So I mean, it was. I mean, I will say I got to defend that belt at least once against Vampiro and Sabu, so at least I defended that belt. You know, at the time it was like, you know, a great honor because the guys who had held the belt before were Candido, you know, Sabu. So I mean, it was basically, you know, legitimate guys that I got to do. I mean, now I wish I was never that company's champ. I wish I was never part of that fucking company. You know, all the company did was friggin', you know, bite me in the ass, and maybe I deserved it, maybe I didn't. I don't know. But you know, it's you know, at the time I thought it was a cool idea, but it was stupid because we only had 2 belts at the time, and I had both of them. You know, it was stupid, sloppy booking. That's what it was. That's exactly what it was.
Do you think that also led up to Sabu leaving XPW?
I don't know. I mean, it's. I know it wasn't just Sabu. It was Sabu and Lazy. Rob didn't like Lazy. Lazy and him had a falling out. So they were always looking for. They always wanted an excuse to get rid of Lazy. But problem was that like Lazy was very much like Sabu's handler. He was the one who friggin' kept Sabu in check, but that's the one Sabu liked. Sabu liked having Lazy around.
Yeah, they connected.
They connected, you know. And from what I was told, I mean, the whole plan at Damage Inc., where it was supposed to be me and Rob versus Sabu and Lazy, loser leaves. Like Sabu, if Sabu and Lazy lose, then they're banished from XPW. You know, if they beat either me or Rob, they get the company and they get the belt. Well, the whole entire plan was just to get rid of Lazy. That's what it was, and to have Sabu come back doing the yellow dog gimmick, you know, where you're under a mask and hey, is that Sabu? No, it can't be Sabu. You know, of course Sabu's gonna shit on that idea.
Yeah.
You know, and that I mean that's that from what I was told and from what I understand, that was the whole reason behind it. You know, I think Sabu just got fed up with it. You know, and then again, I know Sabu or Lazy and Rob were going at it, so I know Lazy wasn't talking too good about Rob. You know, and Lazy's in Sabu's ear, so I mean, it was just a volatile situation where I'm sure a lot of stuff was secondhand information, you know, with a little spin on it, kind of thing. And that's what happened.
What led to your falling out between you and Rob Black?
He like I said, I owe Rob a lot, only because literally, you know, when I needed a job, he gave me an actual job because of the fact that I'd show up at work all scarred up or gigged up from bleeding the night before, and they'd send me home. I'd go to the office. What are you doing here? I got sent home because I had to bleed last night. You know, and it's like, all right. And then finally after a show, he's like, hey, I got an opening. Do you want a job? And I'm like, yeah. And I had already kind of like inquired about maybe trying to get a job there just to feel it out. And he's like, if you want a job, you got it. I'm like, oh, cool. You know, and that's how I got my job at Extreme. You know, Rob, it's funny because I know a lot of fans or a lot of people, whoever they are like, man, Messiah owes Rob everything, yada, 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 yada. It's like, well, guess what? Rob owes me just as fucking much. Because of the fact of, I was the one that helped make that company friggin' legit. When people, all they said it was just a bunch of backyard guys going at it. I was the one guy, like me and Chaos were like the 2 guys that were like the original friggin' hometown talent that you could throw in those people's face and be like, shut up, we got guys who can work.
Yeah.
You know? I was the one that was wrestling Sabu and Candido. You know, it wasn't because there was no one else to. It's because, guess what? I had the talent to do that, and, you know, the fans were responding to me, you know. And as far as I know, Sabu and Candido never talked bad or said I couldn't work or anything like that. And so, I got the privilege of wrestling them. You know, like I said, I owe Rob, you know, stuff, but Rob owes me, too, because I was one of the things that helped make the company a legitimate company. You know? So it's like, I mean, it's a double-edged sword on that one. But I know the internet marks or the XPW marks going to be able to like, find a way around it. Yeah. You know, and the falling out between me and Rob, I mean, at the time, I just remember the office wasn't a good place to work. I mean, there wasn't a time that didn't go by that I didn't laugh my ass off, but there wasn't a time that didn't go by that I just didn't want to beat the crap out of somebody. You know, it was just a very unorthodox office, and I just remember one day I yelled at Rob because he and I got in. We didn't even get into it. He just made a comment about. Oh no, actually, something happened with like something, and I just remember I yelled or I yelled at somebody from outside, like they were outside, and Rob walks in. He's like, why are you yelling? Like, what are you talking about? Why are you yelling? I'm like, I'm not yelling. He's like, well, why is everybody telling me you're yelling? I'm like, I didn't yell. I yelled outside to her because she fucking, you know, she didn't put the book back and whatever. I don't even remember what the deal was, but I just remember, I'm like, dude, I didn't yell. He's like, so you mean to tell me whoever it was is lying right now that you didn't yell? I'm like, no, I didn't yell. I'm like, no, this is me yelling. This is me yelling right now. He's like, so Dave said that Dave was lying. I'm like, yeah, he's fucking lying. I went down there to the office. I'm like, dude, I did not yell. This is me yelling right now. And I just remember looking at Rob, and Rob was just like, and he shook his head. And that weekend I was talking to Lizzie, and Lizzie's just like, Rob thinks you don't like him. And I'm like, no, I like Rob. She's like, he says all weekend he's just been like, you know, Billy doesn't like me. He doesn't like me. He just doesn't like me. And maybe I don't know what it was, but I mean, it was like I knew right then and there I could not work there anymore. I just couldn't, because I crossed the line between friend and boss, and I just yelled at him. The one guy I probably shouldn't yell at. And I had actually tried to quit XPW a week before that, and we were watching like a wrestling pay-per-view or something like that, and I walked in. You know, we'd go to his house and watch pay-per-views, and after the pay-per-view, I went out to my car and got the belts, and I said, dude, here, I need to talk to you. And I remember he's like, oh God, what's your drama? I'm like, nothing. I just need to talk to you. He's like, all right. So I'm like, dude, I quit. I can't do this anymore. He's like, why? I'm like, dude, here are the belts. He's like, all right. And he looked at me, looked at the belts. He goes, thanks. Just made my job a lot easier. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you quit, I quit. I'm like, what are you talking about? You quit, I quit. No more XPW. Because he'd always talked about ending XPW anyway, because it wasn't making any money or anything like that, you know. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He's like, no, you quit, I quit. It's that simple. I'm like, dude, Rob, my body fucking, I'm just shot. I need some time off then. I just can't do this anymore. And he's just like, no. He's like, do you quit, I quit. And I just remember like, okay, so let me get this straight. If I don't quit, then you don't quit. Yep. I'm like, oh, okay.
He's just trying to throw it all in your lap.
Yeah, I remember I told Lizzie that, and Lizzie's like quit XPW like every day. and then Rob, she's like, Rob does that to me too. You know, and it was just, I just could not work there anymore. And I mean, I'm not going to go into detail, but it did have to do with Lizzie. It did have to do with Lizzie, the reason I was fired. You know, the reason I felt I couldn't work there anymore, it did have to do with her. And, you know, she, you know, at the time they were just having problems or whatever, and I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
No.
And, you know, pretty much a week after I yelled at him, I got fired. And
do you think he was just looking for an excuse?
No, he wasn't looking for an excuse. I'm sure, I mean, at the time I got fired, I was the heavyweight champ and the deathmatch champ, you know. And I remember I had conversations with Kevin, and I'm like, so am I doing the show or what? Damaging. And he's like, no, you're not doing it. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, dude, the belt's never actually been lost by the person who's friggin' had it, dude. I will wrestle twice that night. He's like, dude, Billy, even if I hated your guts, I would still want you at this show. He's like, but dude, Rob's not taking any input right now. He does not want you there. And so that was it. I mean, I never took the belts home. I kept them at the office. So it's like, you know, they had the belts, and that was that. I mean, I said, dude, I'll do whatever you want. I just want to make things right. And so what they go and do, they friggin' do another thing to insult the fans' intelligence, saying I went up to heaven, using Kevin Klonrock, using his voice as my voice. Oh yeah, we have a very, very similar voice, you know. And I'm just like, I remember I even told Kevin, I'm like, dude, what are you gonna do? Make it like I went to heaven? And he laughed. He went, and sure enough, that's what they freaking did.
I think they're still doing angles like this today.
Yeah. It's like I remember like when Shane first left. Shane, when he went back to WCW, Shane and Rob, they were talking about stuff, and Shane even's like, yeah, I wouldn't work out anyway. He's like, why? He's like, well, we do different angles. Shane's like, I do reality stuff. You do the hokey 80s shit. You know? And it's like, dude, I think they're trying to get out of the hokey 80s shit now. But like me going up to heaven, you know, it's like, dude, come on. And then I show up in MPW a week later, shut up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think the new angle they just did with what's her name, J-Love, is that Pogo killed her. And it's like, if she's dead, how is she going to work on an indie next week?
That's the thing, Rob. The guy, Rob over at XPW, his whole thing is, we're not an indie. We're not an indie. Well, guess what, Rob? There are indies who run more shows than XPW does. I'm like, we're a friggin' indie. I remember telling him, I'm like, we are an indie. We're an above average indie, but we're an indie. Dude, he's like, well, you got to stop thinking of it, that we're an indie. And I'm like, but we are. We're not, you know, they honestly believe, it's like this thing of, you have to have this mentality of no one watches anything else but XPW. So of course they're going to believe everything we throw at them. And it's like, that's not the case. I mean, internet screwed all that shit up. You know, you can't do anything surprising now or anything like that. And you can't do anything stupid and hokey like someone going to heaven or getting buried or anything like that. You just can't do it anymore. I mean, in fact, what did they do? They had me go up to heaven, and then Damien Steele came back from the dead. That was their big thing to friggin' take my place, to fill the void that I left supposedly or whatever. Yeah, okay, that's fine, that's great. You know, it's just, it was stupid and hokey.
Well, that explains why I don't watch XPW. Anyways, so what was going through your mind when you left XPW? I mean, did you have any idea what you were going to do, where you were going to go?
I swear to God, to be honest with you, I was just like, this isn't happening. This is not happening, because I literally lost my job and the place I wrestled. You know, and like I said, maybe I deserved it. I don't know, but it was definitely an eye-opening. You know, I remember talking to Supreme and Chaos. I'm just like, dude, I never knew a day could be so long, because I didn't have a job. I had no place to go, and I'm just and I moved the day I got fired. I moved to my new place. You know, and I'm just like, dude, I never knew a day could actually be this long. I was just starting to know what to do, because all I ever knew was XPW and Slammers. You know, and I tried to talk to Rob, but all I would get was, "Fuck you, you're dead in 9 days." He just threatened me, you know, and it's just like, fine, okay, whatever. And I tried to talk to Lizzie, but she wouldn't. Or the one time I did try to talk to her, she's like, I can't talk to you. You know, I'm just like, all right, you know, whatever. And I mean, the guys like, I mean, Chaos and Supreme. You know, especially Chaos and even D, those guys were like, they stood by me. But, you know, it was just like, I just remember, I mean, I was really distraught. I didn't know what to do. You know, it was, but, you know, when I look at it in retrospect, it's like, dude, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, a lot of people ask me how I felt about the attack on me. And the way I explained it to like, Gary over at Epic, I'm like, you know something? I'm like, dude, the attack, that was cake compared to how I felt when I got fired from Extreme. I'm like, dude, that was cake. I'll probably never experience the kind of like how I felt when I got fired, because I was just literally like, my family that I considered family was gone, my job was gone, everything was gone.
So you were just devastated.
Oh yeah, big time. And you know, like I said, maybe I deserved it, maybe I didn't, maybe I deserved a little bit. I don't know. All I know is that it's like, whatever it was, I took it in the ass big time, and I paid for some other people's indiscretions, and I'm like, dude, whatever. But like I said, I mean, it's the best thing that freaking ever happened to me, getting fired from that place.
How did you get involved with Combat Zone Wrestling?
I was sitting home one night, and phone rings, and I always oh, that's my phone. It's very
there you go.
No, you can keep it. I just want to listen to my song. No, but Copacabana. No, basically, I got a call. Like one day I'm at home, and I always screen my messages, and then this voice comes over going, "Shut up." This voice comes over saying, "This message is for Billy, aka Messiah. This is John Zendig, CZW." I'm like, what the f-? It sounded like Jake Lawless over at XPW. I thought Jake was fucking with me. And I answered the phone. I'm like, "Hello?" He's like, "Is this Billy?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "So you're not with that porno company anymore, huh?" I'm like, no, I'm not with them anymore. He's like, "All right." He's like, "What are you doing this weekend?" I'm like, "I got a booking." He's like, "Oh, that's a shame." He's like, "I was, you know, thinking about maybe bringing you out." He's like, "Some of my boys have you know, seen some of your work, and they said you're pretty good." And he's like, "I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen anything you've done. I haven't seen anything XPW's done." He's like, "I've just seen pictures in magazines." And the same goes for me. That's how I told him the same thing. All I ever saw was a picture of a weed whacker. You know? And he pretty much said, he's like, "But you know, some of my guys have seen some of the tapes, and they've seen you work, and they said that you can work, and you know, they're vouching for you, and that's good." And he's like, "You know, depending on how well you do this show, you know, maybe you can be part of our permanent roster." And I was like, yeah, that's great, but I'm booked this weekend. Let me just make a phone call and let me see what's going on. And sure enough, you know, I just gave a call, and it was for MPW, and a guy out of the booking called John, and he called me on a Tuesday, got a hold of him on a Wednesday, and said, "Yeah, dude, I can do it." And I was on a plane Friday, and did the CZW show.
That was open challenge?
Yeah, against Justice Payne. And I remember it was like, I didn't know they wrestled at the ECW arena or anything like that. And
you were pretty clueless.
Yeah,
huh?
I didn't know that I didn't know that I was wrestling their champ at the time. I just thought I was coming out there for a show. I didn't know I was wrestling him, and I was just like, "Oh shit, here we go." And like I said, I knew nothing about CZW or anything like that. And that night, I stayed at one of the boys' house, and I said, "Do you have any footage of Justice Payne or anything like that?" He's like, "Yeah." So he gave me some stuff, and the first thing I watched was Cage of Death 3, and I watched that from top to bottom, and I was blown away. I was like, "Dude, what the hell do they want with me?" I mean, the wrestling aspect alone, I was just like, "Dude, we never did anything like this in XPW, never." And I remember I felt like a little fish in a big pond all of a sudden.
Kind of like starting over.
Yeah, and it very much was. I mean, like I said, by nature I'm a quiet guy. I don't, you know, I'm the guy at a party that's in the corner just sipping on a beer or something, you know. And that day I had to suck it up, and I went to everybody and introduced myself. You know, Adam Flash and I joke around about it now, but I remember I'm like, what'd you first think of me? I was like, who the hell is this fucking guy? You know, some of those guys knew who I was, some of those guys didn't know who I was. You know, Eric Gargiulo, the commentator for CZW, he straight out admitted to me. He's like, when he first found out I was coming in, he was like, oh god, so yeah, this is gonna blow chunks, you know. And luckily I went out there and you know, busted my ass, and Justice Pain and I put on a fucking decent match, and a lot of the fans liked it. John liked it, and, you know. And I'm my biggest critic when it comes to matches too. I hate every match I do, and Justice Pain's the same. But from what I was told, Xander's like, yeah, Justice Pain even liked the match. And after the match, I actually had to get 11 staples put in the back of my head because I got busted open the hard way. And I was sitting there, and I'm getting the staples, and John comes over. He looks at me and goes, how you feeling? I'm like, all right. He's like, did good work. I'm like, thanks. Like, you want to come back next month? I'm like, yeah. All right. And cool. that was pretty much it.
So in the locker room, you were pretty much treated good by everybody?
Yeah. I mean, it's like in XPW, I always thought we had a really tight locker room in XPW. With the local guys, you know, the names would occasionally come in. But other than that, you know, it was a good, tight locker room. CZW locker room's way, way, way tighter. It's like, I remember walking in. I mean, basically, it's a big-time fraternity, you know, and you just don't walk in and be part of it. You know, I was just very fortunate. I got lucky. You know, I talked to a lot of guys and everything, and it just worked out. And you know, some of those guys are my best friends in the world. And you know, it's great when I can, like, the backseats can come out to California and do a show and everything, or I go back out there. You know, it's great because, like I said, when I go to Philly, I end up staying like 3 days more. Because I go out there and I hang out with everybody and just have a great time. I mean, I'm eventually moving to Philly, so I mean that's when the attack thing happened. Those were the guys who were just like, dude, you need anything, dude, just give us a call. I mean, it's weird because it's like a lot of people like ask me what's the difference between West Coast wrestling and East Coast wrestling. What's weird is like I didn't realize the difference between having friends on the East Coast and having friends on the West Coast. It's a completely different thing. I mean, in my experience, the friends I have on the East Coast, dude, it's just one of these, like, you know, I'll die for you kind of things. You know, all those guys have stepped up to the plate.
More true to their word.
Yeah, big time, you know. And it's just, like I said, all those guys. I mean, I fucking on my keychain, I have like one of those stupid little gay things you get from Magic Mountain. You know, with a little eyeglass with me, B-boy in the backseats, all fucking around. You know, it's just, you know, it's awesome being there. I remember, it's funny because like some fan keeps on making cookies. I don't know who it is. Some fan always gives us cookies, and basically we'll eat them, you know. But then all of a sudden we'll look at each other. It's like lock and load. We get them. The next person that comes through that door, we're nailing them with it. And usually it's the ring announcer, Dennis Shock, who walked in. Dude, he gets hit with like 40 some odd cookies at the same time. I mean, I've never been in a locker room that's playful like that. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you just don't. You come in, we fuck around with each other. It's very much that family atmosphere of, you know, I get to mess with you, but if this guy over here messes with you, he has all of us on his ass. Mm-hmm. You know.
Do you feel that there was anyone at all in the locker room that maybe didn't trust you because of your association in the past with XPW?
No. I mean, I never had that. A lot of guys, when I came in, you know, I was sitting there like, you're Messiah, right? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, you're good. I'm like, oh, thanks, man, thanks. And like I said, I mean, I watched Cage of Death 3, you know, and that was the show right before accepting the challenge. Right, the show before accepting the challenge that I did. So it was just like, dude, no, you guys are freaking awesome, man. I mean, I'm in awe of everything you guys do, and
they have come a long way.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, Mick jokes about it, but it's like, dude, all I knew was about a weed whacker.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it took me quite a while to get into their stuff.
Yeah, but just the pure wrestling aspect of it alone, I mean, I think it blows everything out of the water. I mean, I know in XPW never did anything like that, nothing like that. So it was like, I don't think anybody in that locker room was ever very apprehensive towards me or anything like that, or couldn't trust me. But you know, it's definitely like, dude, just because you're an XPW doesn't mean shit to us. Half those guys didn't even know what XPW was. They're just like, dude, whatever. You're that Fed on the West Coast trying to be like us, okay?
So, what was your first impression of John Zandig?
Dude, first time meeting him, intimidating guy, man, big guy. You know, you don't want to mess with John Zandog. You know, you don't want to mess with him. You know, and he you know, he definitely, you know, he takes care of his own. I mean, the guy makes no money on CZW virtually no money. He does it for the love of it. I mean, I remember I was just watching him when we did the Tournament of Death, and it's like me, Backseats, Adam Flash, Wife Beater. We're all just like watching the matches, and then I think Trent started breaking Wife Beater's balls. He's like, dude, I saw you go out there doing your death match. Awesome, dude. Dude, basics are coming back, right? Fucking, drop down, hip toss. And then Wife Beater's like, dude, yeah, it's all coming back to me, man. Dude, I don't need to do this death match. It was the funniest thing. I just see John in the corner, and John just staring over, just smiling and laughing. Under his breath. He's not part of the conversation, but he hears it. But he's just laughing, I think he gets it honest. He really feels good that, he has all these guys that he can trust and everything, and that he's actually allowing a lot of these guys to fulfill their dream of, so a lot of the guys got to go to Japan, Mexico.
CZW has really pushed a lot of guys that have gone all over.
Yeah, so I mean, it's he's virtually started a company that was basically run out of his backyard kind of thing, that's running in one of the most famous arenas or bingo halls, whatever you want to call it, in the world. Yeah. And dude, no one. I mean, let's face it, XPW went out there, couldn't freaking do shit out there. CZW does it, and as a company, it's a bunch of nobodies. We're a bunch of nobodies, and we outdrew the company with all the somebodies.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that right there shows you the kind of product that it has. It's the product speaks for itself. I think CZW is very much like ECW, where it's like the fans. Sure, they got their favorites and who they want, they like, but when it comes down to it, they're there for the freaking CZW.
For the overall product.
Yeah. Case in point, Justice Pain goes to XPW. What did it hurt the fan base or the attendance of CZW at all? No. It did. All it did was lighten XPW's freaking pockets. That's all it did. That's why it's not one individual wrestler who really runs the show there. It's the whole company. Everybody's there for the company. I mean, the fans go there for the company. That's the one thing I think XPW has to realize. It's not about who you got.
Yeah.
It's about your overall product.
The name means something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and unfortunately, XPW puts a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. It really, really does. Even when I was there, and not to say CZW doesn't, because I know CZW makes a lot of people freaking sick, when they hear the name. But it's like, dude, the fans show up for the overall CZW, for the overall product, not for a certain guy.
Yeah. Not one name that's going to bring in the house.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, after your Open Challenge match, your debut in CZW, after that you started feuding with Adam Flash. Can you elaborate on the matches with him?
They suck. No, they were good. They were. I love Flash. I mean, the guy's been in the business for like 11 or 12. Well, if you talk to Gargiulo, he has like a year every month, so he's like probably up to 20 years now or something. But no, he's been in the business for like 11 or 12 years. The guy was doing like matches on WCW Saturday night. You want to talk about like a road dog? I mean, the guy's traveled everywhere and anywhere. And I was looking really forward to wrestling. He's one of the big dogs in the locker room. He's one of the old heads. So he literally, it's like a lot of guys, are just like, dude, they test you when they finally wrestle you. That's when they'll realize if they actually want to give you the time of day after they wrestle you. And I guess I won Adam Flash over, and I became Rachi Saya. So because they're him and Danny Rose and another guy, they're the Rachis, and I got to become the Rachi Saya. So it's awesome. And he was one of those guys when everything happened to me. He called me on the phone. He's like, "You need anything, dude? You give me a call." I go out to Philly. It's like, "What are you doing? Where are we going, dude?" We hang out and everything. He came out here last year. And I hung out with him. I didn't even go to work for a week. I was with him the whole entire time in California. Goofing off. So I mean, he's the matches I had with that first initial match I thought was really good. I thought he really liked it. He's like me. He hates everything he does, and he's one of my best friends. So I mean, it's. I'm very, I'm all about wrestling somebody I can learn from. He's definitely one of those guys.
So he's helped you a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, from there, then you did some matches involving Sick Nick Mondo as well as Justice Pain with a lot of three-way dances and four-way dances.
Which I hate those, by the way, but okay.
Well, give us your feelings on those.
Oh, no, three-way matches, they're just clusterfucks. Four-way matches is even bigger clusterfuck. There you go.
I believe most of those were title matches, were they?
Yeah, well, me and Mondo, I like wrestling Mondo because it's like, dude, he's up for anything and I'm up for anything. When Mondo and I get in the ring, it's pretty much you're going to get your money's worth. Mondo's a great guy. He comes up with some pretty innovative stuff and everything. And when we did a three-way. It was me, Mondo, and Payne at last year's Best of the Best 2 or 3 or whatever it was. And it was an all right match, but it was just filler. That match was just filler for the overall juniors and everything. But it was all right. I mean, we did the high stakes match where me, Mondo, just as Pain and Flash, we went to like a 54-minute draw or whatever it was, 54 minutes, and that was exhausting. But that was a good match as well, I thought. Mondo, I mean, he's a good guy. Good guy. I mean, the guy. It's funny because the guy's all about making movies, man. That's what he wants to do. He wants to make movies. So he's doing the wrestling thing because it's fun to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I mean I enjoy wrestling. I mean he takes some of the sickest stuff you've ever seen though. But like when he and I did the match in Epic, I thought that Pain and Suffering. I thought that was a great match, and he was happy with it. Like I said, I mean I always enjoy wrestling Mondo. You're gonna get your money's worth when he and I lock up.
Yeah, he had a good time when he was out here.
Yeah. He's a cool guy. Really cool guy.
Okay, now this some time had passed, a few months. You had already been in CZW, and things been going good. Then all of a sudden, you get this big attack on you.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was in the summer of 2002.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that and exactly what happened?
Basically, what happened was I was at home playing video games. I just bought a GameCube, so I was all into it, and I was playing it. And my roommate came home, and I lived with 2 other people. I lived with a guy and a girl. My best friend at the time, like I knew him for like 11 years, Kyle, and his girlfriend. And she came home, and I was playing video games. She came home. She went to go walk out the dog, and then she forgot something. She came right back in. As soon as she came right back in, the door closes, but then the door opens and 2 guys walk in, or two black guys walk in. And I turn around. I'm like, hey, what's up? And they even said, hey, what's going on, man? And they proceed to walk down to the end of the apartment. And then they're right next to the hallway, and then Michelle walks back up, and she walks in between both of them. She looks up at them like this. She goes, hi. And then right then and there, I knew something was wrong because she didn't know who they were. I thought they were with her because her godparents are black. Her godsister is black, and her godbrother's black. She hangs out with them all the time, So it's like that's why I thought they were with her, and I thought they were like with her godbrother or something like that. But she just looks up at him and goes, hi. I was like, oh damn. And then so I just wanted her to get out of the house because as soon as she did that, I knew why they were there and what they were there to do.
You just sensed it.
Oh yeah, I knew it. And I turned my back. We had a big screen TV, and I can see the reflection. She goes out the door, close the door, and the big screen TV. I can see them going like this. And I'm like, you get them. No, you get them. And
real organized.
Oh yeah, totally. And so I was like this, and then one of them went to lock the door, and I jumped up, or I didn't jump up, but I turned around, and they both jumped me, and it was just one. It was proceeded to brawl, and one of them pinned me down, got me down, and the other one was on top of me, and then all of a sudden I saw a pair of gardening shears, and put it right around my thumb, and just snipped it, and one just popped right off. And I mean, I kick myself in the ass every day because I could have taken my hand away. I really could have. I know I could have. But for some reason, for some reason I don't know. I mean, people make excuses for me saying it was the shock and whatever. I mean, I could have taken my hand away and I didn't.
Maybe you didn't believe it was really happening.
Maybe, but I know I could have taken my hand away. I know I could have. And then they went for my other hand, but I kept it in a fist, and they started pounding on my fist, trying to make me open it. And I started throwing elbows to get them off me. And they're just like, come on, dude, stay down. What's funny is I don't even know why I was doing it. I'm like, why are you doing this? I was even saying that. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, was there talking going on during this?
I mean, just me saying, why are you doing this? And I would yell, and I yelled help. And then what happened was they went for my other thumb. I had it, started pounding it. Then it went for my belt. And like tried to flip me over or something like that. Now this is where everybody's like, oh, he didn't get his dick cut off or whatever. Okay, basically the original people were saying was that they tried to cut off cut off my dick. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm like, okay, first of all, because somebody even said I had my pants down to my ankles. I'm like, dude, I didn't even have my pants down to my ankles. They went for my belt, and the guy was tugging on my belt. And this is exactly what I told the detectives and everything. They was tugging for my belt. Whether or not he was going for it, I don't know. But he was definitely going for something around there, whether it was like to flip me over or something. But
maybe
he was
to get a grip on you?
Get a grip, or I don't know. But he was going for it, you know. And I was able to get up. I threw an elbow on it, and somehow, some way, I was able to crawl over to the door. And I went to go and lock the door, and I couldn't because I didn't have my thumb. So I was just swatting at it. I was swatting at the lock, and I couldn't open it. and the guy got a hold of me, and he threw me down, and he's like, just stay down, and he's like, just be quiet, don't move, stay down, and I got up, and that's when they got like the fish tank or the fish bowl, and hit me over the head with it, and I could tell right then and there, like, these guys had no idea what they were really doing. Or they expected something easy and simple because it didn't knock me out.
They maybe thought you were going to be so scared that you were just going to take it or
yeah,
something.
Yeah. And I started to get back up, and they got the dining room chair, hit me with the dining room chair. And I was still getting up. And they're like, dude, just stay down.
They were getting frustrated.
Just stay, they were just stay down. And, I even told the detective this. They came in there expecting some scared white guy just to, like, be the easiest thing in the world, and that didn't happen. And they got on top of me again, and I was throwing elbows or whatever, and something happened. This is where it's kind of fuzzy. Where one of them threw a punch, I think, and I got a hold of his arm and tried to hyperextend it. Either I got thrown into the actual dining room table, or I pushed one of them in the dining room table. But something happened where, like, it got knocked into it, and I was able to crawl back over to the door. And I started swatting at the lock again, and somehow I got away from both of them again. I started swatting at the lock and was able to get it open, and I opened the door, and the door, flew open, and they ran out. The one thing everybody's saying, like, I read in some magazine where they're like, yeah, his screams are what helped him. My screams didn't help me. I freaking opened that door. Yeah, did I scream for help? Better believe I did.
Yeah.
But dude, what got them off me was the fact that I was able to get them off me and get to the door and open the door, and they just ran out.
So you didn't run out; they ran out.
They ran out, and I remember, and then I got on my knees and I ran out down the stairs, and I started yelling for help right then and there. And I just remember I was holding my hand like this, and one of the witnesses said that one of them, the guys, I did something to one of them, had his arms up in the air and he was screaming. I don't know what that is. And then I went downstairs, and I started yelling help, and I had my hand, and I remember yelling, they cut off my fucking thumb.
Pissed off.
Yeah, right? And then I ran back upstairs to go get a cup of ice and put my thumb in it, but I knew they took it, and so I get the ice, and I'm looking, and because of the fish tank, there's little rocks everywhere. So I'm looking. Finally, I walk back outside, and I just collapsed. My neighbor from downstairs came up, and then, like, right then and there, that's when the paramedics, fire department, sheriff, the whole cavalry just came after that.
Loss of blood? Is that maybe why you
I don't know. I don't know.
Exhaustion?
I think it was just exhaustion. I don't think it was loss of blood. I mean, there was a lot of blood, because my thumb was just squirting. It's like what you see in the movies. It was squirting, and then they took me to the hospital and fixed me up, and that was pretty much it. And it's like I told the sheriff, because I love there's certain people that are just like, dude, it was a random attack. Yeah, okay, then why the hell did they take my thumb?
Yeah, they needed
They
evidence.
They didn't take one piece of equipment in that. There was a DVD player. There was all kinds of crap. They didn't take anything, and they just happened to go in my neighborhood.
Exactly.
It's just like, dude, some people are just so delusional that they don't want to believe certain people have anything to do with anything. But it's like, dude, they took my thumb. They took it. I remember someone said on the internet that it was like like homeless people or something like that. I lived in a Jewish community or something like that. It was a bunch of and it's rampant with homelessness. And so I got assaulted on the street corner, and they cut off my thumb because apparently thumbs go big on the black market or something like that. It's just stupid, idiotic stuff like that. And like I said, I mean, it's like when I went to, I was literally out of the hospital like that the next morning, and what's weird is that, like, out of all my family, I'm the only one that lives in California, or at the time lived in California, and what's ironic, and this is why I have a very strong belief in God, and I don't believe things happen. There's no such thing as luck. There's no such thing as accidents. I honestly believe things happen for reasons. There are reasons things happen, whether they're good or bad, and it's ironic because, like, the week before, I was at Lake Havasu with Christy and my parents and just hanging out, and we're just having a great old time. And like I said, my parents and all my family, they live back east in Michigan and in Georgia. That particular weekend when everything that week when everything happened to me, my sister was in town. My family was only in Lake Havasu, which is only like 4 or 5 hours away. So it just one of those times where all the stars aligned, and my family was there to be with me. And they kept me in the hospital. My parents came, You know, they checked up on me, and it was funny because the next day I moved out of my place. I got all my crap and moved out. And I remember my stepmother's looking at me. She's like, "You're like Superman." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "How can you be up and walking around?" I'm like, I just can. And you got to remember what I do. I mean, it's my body's used to taking a punishment because I mean, when everything happened, the whole right side of my face was swollen. This eye was swollen shut. My lip was swollen. This was just all bruised. And I mean, as a result of everything happened, I had to, my thumb got cut off. I had to get the stitches in the thumb and everything. They had to do this weird thing where, and my sister was right there watching it. And it's funny. I don't know if it's funny, but I was freaking a lot of my friends out because they come in the hospital and they're like, "How you doing?" And I'm like, "Hey, thumbs up." You know, and they're just looking at me and they're like, "That's not funny." You know, I just have a weird way I deal with things. And they actually came in, and the doctor looked. Pretty much told me that they explained to me what they got to do, and so basically they had to go in there and actually like saw the bone down in order to do it. So I'm sitting there and I'm laying there, and my sister's just watching him do it, you know, and they were all. I mean, my family was just all freaked out. You know, my friends or my childhood friends were all freaked out. And the next day, I mean, I was up walking around. The swelling went down at least 70. I mean, it was all the way down. I just had the bruises, and my eye was just all bloodshot. And they just couldn't believe how well I just, you know, I recovered from it. You know, and like to this day, it's like, dude, I don't really talk about it, you know, because there's certain people, like certain friends that like they're just the talkers. Like, do you want to talk about anything?
Yeah.
You want to talk it out? No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You sure? Yeah, I'm fine. You want to go to see a psychiatrist? No, I'm good. I'm fine. You know.
Well, we hate to bring it up again. We just wanted to get it straight from your mouth.
Oh no,
it's so many stories.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Vic Grimes told me a story that he heard, basically saying that I lived with a black couple. And I was cheating, or that I was getting with the girl that I lived with, and I dumped her for another black girl, and so she got mad, and so her husband sent 2 guys after me. I'm like, Vic, where the hell did you hear this? It's like, I'm just like, you know, pretty soon, sooner or later, you know, originally I'm getting pissed off because I'm hearing the wrong stuff, but sooner or later, all you can do is just laugh. Like me living in a Jewish community home or something like that, overrun by homelessness. I'm like, where the hell would you even come up with this? And all you can do, you can't be mad at somebody like that. You can just be like...
Laugh at their stupidity.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable. Because, I mean, as a result of what happened, I had to get... Like, one of the guys bit me on the neck. You know, I had to get stitches in the back of my... Because dude, he bit me on the freaking neck. You know, and then I got stabbed in the leg, and they had to get stitches. I had to get stitches in that. My back had something on it, had a laceration on it, too. You know, it was just unbelievable. And you know, it was, I mean, the people that helped me get through it were, honest to God, were my family. Gary App, and Haley and everything, and you know, the guys over in CZW. Those are the guys. You know, and I freaked out a lot of people because I wasn't crying on shoulders or anything like that. I'm just not that type of person. I just can't do that. Mm-hmm. That's how the way I deal with stuff is that I harbor it, then one day I'm going to unleash it on somebody.
Yeah.
That's how I deal with stuff.
Getting back to the thumb and why they took the thumb, obviously they needed evidence for somebody, for something. Now, comment or no comment, it's up to you. Do you have any idea at all why?
Why they took the thumb, or
why it happened?
This is why and everybody pretty much knows who I think did it. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I got a call from Webb warning me to watch myself.
Yeah, you stated that earlier.
Okay. Why the hell would I? You know, whatever. The reason I was told that everything happened to me had nothing to do with Lizzie, and I even said this. This had nothing to do with Lizzie. Had nothing to do with her or anything like that. I could care less about that friggin' bitch. I really, it had nothing to do with her. I was told the reason something happened was because I embarrassed somebody.
Disrespected somebody.
I disrespected somebody. And by embarrassing them, is it because I showed up to a certain show and things didn't go planned. And basically, during that show, no one gave a shit about a certain match. They started throwing beach balls around. Mm-hmm. A fan came in and tried to jump Rob.
Wasn't he drunk?
Oh, yeah,
or
drugged
out or something?
Yeah. You know, the fans shit all over this big match, the big return of a certain, you know, of Shane Douglas. Mm-hmm. And basically, Rob was embarrassed in front of Shane Douglas. And who did he friggin' blame it all on? Me. Because I was at the show. So I must have friggin' sent the drunk fan in there. I must have incited I must have got the crowd to start chanting beach ball and throw a beach ball around.
I heard the crowd even got hot when the beach balls were popped.
Yeah, and I was there, and dude, I will, and I don't care anybody over at that office. You look at that whole entire show. Show me if you even see me, because I'm up in the friggin' nosebleed section, away from everybody. You know, I wasn't mingling around trying to get noticed. I went there just to see a show, and I didn't even want to go to the show originally. Friggin' Smiley Johnson or GQ Money said, because I was over at Dee's house like the week before, or that was it the week before or something like that? Yeah, and talking, and Smiley's or GQ Money's over there joking about how to I'll go to the show, you know, whatever. Because Chaos, you know, some of those guys would always ask me to go to shows. I'm like, I can't go, you know I can go. And Smiley's like, dude, no, you can go here. He gave me the friggin' passes.
Huh. He
gave me the free passes to get in. You know, and so it was like basically I was told everything happened because someone got disrespected, or because I made someone look like a chump. That's what and it's funny because it's mind-boggling to me because basically 2 guys got sent to my house because someone can't handle his own shit. He doesn't know how to be a man and just stand up and be like, dude, we got problems.
He needed somebody to blame.
Yeah, exactly. And basically, it's like, it's just funny because it's like, basically, I got my thumb cut off because someone got embarrassed. That's pretty much what it was. Someone got embarrassed and he needed a scapegoat to pin it on.
Pretty brutal. People are embarrassed every day, but...
No, exactly. People are embarrassed every day. But it's like, dude, I mean, the way I was brought up, you handle your own. You handle it, you know. In this day and age, unfortunately, you know, you fight one guy, you get 10 of his guys and 10 of his buddies on your back. No one does anything by themselves anymore.
Yeah.
I just come from that kind of mentality of take care of your own shit. You know? But, I mean, it's like I said, it's done, it's over with, and you know, they'll be getting theirs soon enough.
So after this attack, you had your comeback, I believe it was at Zandig's Tournament of Death.
Yeah.
You got a great response, great pop, lots of signs in the audience. How was the support from the crowd at that show?
It was unbelievable because I remember I talked to John and I'm like,
because it was a surprise, right?
Yeah,
You weren't promoted on the show.
No, it wasn't promoted or anything like that. I remember I told I was talking to Zandig on the phone. I'm like, dude, I want to be at the show. He's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I want to go to the show. And he's like, okay. He's like, and I'm the one who said, yeah, I'll wrestle. He's like, okay, you know, and it was that easy. And I went there and we did, you know, he came up with the whole angle of getting me in the tournament. And it was funny because I just let the music play. I was milking it. I was just milking it. And people were like, who the hell is this guy? Who's coming out right now? And I ran out there, and then, you know, me and Flash square off. We do our little quick thing. And the
squash.
Yeah, the squash, and it was awesome that the fans just went apeshit for it. You know, it was great. And people, I remember one guy's like, welcome back, and then the other guy's like, nice to see you back so soon. Well, okay. You know, there was one guy in the crowd that was like, fuck you, Messiah. I'm like, dude, come on. But, you know, that guy actually...
Maybe that guy didn't know what happened.
Oh, no, what's funny is the guy came up to me after, he's like, oh, I didn't know. I just thought you were with XPW.
Oh, really?
That's what he
there
said.
You go.
So, but, I mean, other than that, it was good. I mean, you know, it's, you know, a lot of people called me a crazy bastard for doing it, but, you know, basically that's, you know, it was a nice little, like, FU to everybody who thought I'd be gone or thought they were going to get rid of me or anything like that.
Well, you proved that you weren't going to stay down.
Yeah, and it was, like I said, I got to hang out with my buddies, and the show was at a bar, so that was even better. So it was I mean, it was awesome. You know, I loved it, and you know, it was just plus that was like when XPW did their first show at the arena. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, I kind of wanted to like do the show with CZW on the same day kind of thing. I was like, dude, fuck it, I'm gonna show everybody that I can still wrestle. I can do what I want and everything. My hand was all taped up and everything, and it was you know, it was good. It was fun. I mean, I had a good time doing it, and it was very surreal, just like the fan support and everything and whatnot. So.
Also, here in California, Epic did a benefit show for you. How was that?
That was great. Again, that was really overwhelming. I remember when the attack happened, I called Gary the next day because I finally had my cell phone, and I saw that he had called, and I knew exactly why he called because he needed me to do a promo for his TV show. And of course I couldn't do it, but I called him and I just pretty much said, dude, I can't wrestle for you anymore. He's like, well, what's wrong? I'm like, dude, I can't. Something happened. And he's like, what? And I told him, and he got upset. I think he took it harder than I did, and he ended up, you know, I called him, or he called me again. He's like, so how you doing? I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. He's like, how you gonna pay? You got any bills? I'm like, I remember. I'm like, well, I got my Visa bill, and I got. He's like, no, medical. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Did you have insurance or anything?
No, I didn't have any insurance or anything like that. And you know, that was definitely a case of my dad going, see, I told you.
I told you so.
You know, and
that's the wrestling business.
Yeah, and but he's like, no, he's like, he's like, we'll do a benefit. I'm like, dude, you don't have to do a benefit. He's like, no, we'll do one. I'm like, dude, you don't have to. And he ended up, I mean, he took it upon himself to bring in like guys who that I was close to. He brought in Flash, you know, the back seats.
Now, did Gary pay for all these gentlemen to come in?
Yeah, he did. I mean, and all those guys kindly, you know, gave up their payday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and those guys, I mean, they're just happy to be in California, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it was like, you know, he brought in all those guys, and just to make me feel comfortable. Like I said, I mean, you know, when everything happened, I realistically didn't have a place to go. I didn't. I mean, the plan for me was to go back to Georgia, and I just said, screw that. I'm not running. I'm not going to run. I refuse to run. You know, this is my life. I'm not going to run. And you know, I was able to find a place and everything. But you know, anytime I needed any place to go to, or I needed a place to sleep, or anything, or just needed a place to hang out, dude, both Haley and Gary were right there. It's like, dude, this is your home. You know, I'd play with their kids. You know, he's like, this is your home. Don't ever think this is not your home. So I mean, I owe a lot to them. You know, I mean, I felt bad because I would have liked to have done my first match for Epic back, but you know, friggin' Gary was lagging on doing a friggin' show. It's like, come on, you know, and I was getting the bug. I'm just like, well, let's do it. And Gary understood that because I felt bad. I'm like, you do benefit show for me, and you know, I'm doing my first show for CZW, but he understood it. I mean, I really, you know, he's just like, yeah, go do it. He's like, dude, have fun. You know, he called me during it. He's like, dude, you doing okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Because I refer to Gary and Haley very much like I call them mom and dad, because they both break my balls about stupid stuff all the time. You know, when everything happened, Gary, you know, Gary's like, where you at? I'm like, what are you talking about? Where are you at? You okay? Everything fine? Yeah, I'm fine, jeez. Haley's like, did you
checking
eat?
up on you?
Oh, yeah. Haley's like, did you eat? You okay? Yeah, I'm fine, jeez. You know, so, I mean, I owe a lot to them. And I owe a lot to John, you know. So, I mean, it was, you know, it was awesome just being able to, both the benefit show and you know, the first match back in CZW. You know, because it was cool doing the benefit show. I got on the mic, and Gary was like, dude, I wonder if you're going to cry. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I wonder if you're going to cry when you go out there. I'm like, I ain't going to cry. You know, and sure enough, I did.
He wanted to get all emotional.
Yeah, dude, that's, you know, we could sell so much if you get emotional. I'm like, okay. But, you know, I just, you know, I went out there, said what I had to say. America's Most Wanted was there doing their thing and everything, so it was good. I mean, I owe a lot to Gary.
Okay, well, we're winding down a little bit here, but you are now the CZW champion. Mm-hmm. And did you win that at Cage of Death 4 or a different event?
Oh, I won the world title the first time at High Stakes. That was a 64 minute.
Yeah, I'm talking about the next time.
And then the next time, yeah, that was a Cage of Death 4 against Justice Payne.
And that was in December.
Yeah. And
you're currently still the champion.
Yeah, still currently the champion. That match was a little bit overwhelming, only because it was like, dude, that was like the biggest show of the year and everything. And
did you know going into that match that you were going to come out champ?
Yeah, I knew that. I already knew that. And they put the Iron Man belt on me, and I'm like, dude, this is like XPW all over again.
Getting all the straps.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh god. And but you know, it worked out for the best. And you know, it was actually, I mean, what a lot of people don't know is like Justice Payne is the guy who pretty much got me in CZW. He's the one who saw the tape. He's the one that suggested to John to bring me in.
He wanted to work with you.
Yeah. Because I think originally the guy that was supposed to be accepting the challenge was Sabu, and Sabu something didn't work out, and so I was like a last minute replacement. And so you know, we did the match, and it was good. We were the last one. Like, of course, like John and Lobo do the Cage of Death match, the first match on the card.
Yeah.
So you know, but you know, he and I and dude, when I went over, you know, they rang the bell for the 3 count. I mean, the place just went apeshit. It was great. I mean, I loved it. You know, it was awesome.
And then Justice Payne is no longer with the company. Did anyone have any idea that some of the guys were going to jump ship?
I was surprised by Josh and Matt, or by M-Dog 20 and Josh Prohibition. I really was surprised by that. And Justice Payne, not so much surprised about. Like a lot of us, you know, he always felt that he was very Hollywood, you know, lack of a better word, you know, kind of thing. And I never personally had any beef with him or any problems with him. Yeah, he was always a cool guy. We were really cool with each other. I just remember the last show we did at the arena before XPW took over the lease. We're there and we're watching something. Oh, we were watching the backseat to make fun of Josh Prohibition and Dog 20. and I look at him and I'm like, hey, does XPW talk to you? And he's chewing on like a little thing from his hood. I guess he's like, huh? No, they don't. I was like, oh, okay, all right. And then I get a call, or I'm talking to John, and John's like, oh, you want to hear the news now or later? I'm like, what? He's like, guess who just went to XPW? And I went, Justice Payne. He's like, yep, how'd you know? I'm like, dude, I'm like, John, I'd like to say I'm surprised, but I'm not. You know, and I know it's maybe a hard blow to John because that's one of his kids, you know.
Yeah, he started there.
Yeah,
right?
he basically, like, John has his kids. Rick Blade, you know, Nick Gage, Justice Payne, I think even Lobo, you know, and Wife Beater. Those are like his kids kind of thing. Those are the kids who started everything with him pretty much. And, you know, basically his kid left. And, you know, you know, and you know, you can have the argument of Justice Payne did everything he could in CZW anyway. You know, he won all the belts, you know, everything. He pretty much ran his course there. It was good, you know, change of pace for him. You know, the way he did it was really, really unprofessional.
Yeah, I think that's where all the heat comes from. I
mean, even Josh Prohibition and Dog 20. I mean, they even like, hey, we'll see you next show. They even said that, you know. And then
they denied it. Yeah,
it's just like, dude, be like Justice Payne. What's funny is he did a promo for XPW to show out in Philly on the TV show, but someone's like, I'm like, well, dude, they at least had to friggin' do it a week before. And then someone's like, no, they need to get that tape to the whatever 3 weeks before. So basically, okay, let's say he did it a week before. He waited until the day that it was going to air to call John and tell him, yeah, I'm going to XPW.
Yeah, that's not cool.
You know, but it's like I said, I mean, dude, you know, I wish those guys the best. You know, bleed as much money out of that company as you can while it's still around. That's what I tell everybody. You know, it's like, dude, go do your thing. You know, I think Justice Payne leaving actually made it better for CZW because as a result of him leaving, we didn't have any heels at the top anymore. So I turned heel, and then joined the back seats, and then we got B-Boy. And now we're high five. We're a heel stable now, which that never would have happened if Justice Payne was there.
It would have been the same old stuff.
It would have been the same stuff going on, you know. So I think him leaving was a great thing. It really was. It livened up, you know, the roster a little bit, livened up, you know, the storylines a little bit. So, and the fans seemed to be really into it because that was their biggest complaint, that everything was stale. Yeah. You know? So it was you know, like I said, I think him leaving was good. Like Josh Prohibition and Doc 20, them leaving didn't really hurt us at all. You know? So, I mean, it's just, like I said, like XPW, their whole thing is like taking these guys, thinking that they're going to bring these people, these fans.
Yeah.
When realistically, people are there to see the product, not an individual person. Sure, everybody has their favorites, but they're there to see the product.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
so
that's their way of thinking, that they're just going to buy talent and it's going to provide seats.
Exactly, and it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Well, I think we're winding down here in closing. Is there anything you want to say that we haven't gone over?
No, I mean...
To your fans?
No, just, you know, to them, it's like, you know, without those guys, I really wouldn't be here, you know. You know, whether they like me or dislike me, it's you know, you still come to see me, you know, and you know, I think right now, like, CZW, I think it's on, you know, it's on a you know, a course where it's only going to get bigger and better. It really, really is.
And they're back at the arena.
Yeah, back at the arena, and it's you know, it's awesome, and you know, all the, I got a bunch of like emails and cards and everything when the whole attack happened, so it was just, you know that you know, that showed me that, you know, I had more fans than I actually thought I did. But you know, it was like I even got letters from fellow workers, you know, so it was just it was really overwhelming, and I appreciate every single one of those, and you know, hopefully I'll keep on doing this as long as my body allows me to do it.
All right. Well, we thank you very much for sitting down, taking the time to do this interview for us. It is the first actual official interview here for the AWS and company. So we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Oh, no problem. Thanks, man. I had a good time doing it.
All right. We'll see you next time.
I did.